Chapter 999. Lu Feifei was very practical. She didn't plan to do anything big. She just wanted to solve some small problems. In fact, she knew that the ditch was not difficult to dig. She could dig it out quickly with a shovel and pick and then lead it to the river. The difficult part was how to make everyone obey. Without an official, there was nothing she could do if they didn't listen. Xiao Bei blinked and came up with an idea. Sister Feifei, you tell them that if they don't obey, we won't sell willow weaves to them. Nonsense. Xiao Yuan retorted. Do you want to control people by the city? You don't teach people to be virtuous, but use money to command? Why don't you publicize the dangers of messy things? Or you just stand out and see who dares to disobey. If we directly order the guards to arrest them, the censorate won't dare to impeach us, right? Mother is here. Don't scold me. Xiao Bei looked at Xiao Yuan with his big eyes. Just as Xiao Yuan was about to speak, his mother scolded him. Don't scold Xiao Bei. If you have an idea, just say it. I say just give her an official. We can make our own official seal and official uniform. But the imperial seal can't be copied. We can make it up later. We can just say yes. They won't ask. Xiao Yuan felt that he had no status and said in a fit of pique. Xiao Bei smiled at Xiao Yuan. Then listen to Xiao Yuan. Let's do it first. We can also make the imperial seal. I'll send a message right away and ask Uncle Emperor for authorization. Yes, we can't wait to go back to the capital. Someone, send a signal to my brother in the capital. Tell my brother to ask for authorization from Uncle Emperor. I want to ask for an official position for Sister Feifei. I don't know what kind of position it should be, but it has to be one who can manage the area around Old Willow Village. Rank 7. Send it there as fast as you can. Xiao Bei shouted outside and said to the servant girl in the inner courtyard in the car, let's make the clothes first. Once the message comes, our clothes will be ready. Show the efficiency of our family. Now they were busy. Xiao Bei and his people didn't get off the car. They could see the market from afar. The team stopped and the cooks started to cook. The tailor was measuring Lu Feifei's size. The person in charge of the radio adjusted the frequency and took the most urgent route. Xiao Hai got out of the car and stood outside to look at the market with a pair of binoculars. After thinking for a while, he said, raise our flag. We're already here. There's no need to keep a low profile. Immediately, someone began to raise the flag. Along the way, they did not hang any signs. From a distance, they could not see the embroidered pattern in front of everyone's chests. It was impossible to guess who made up this vast and mighty team. The main thing was that he was afraid that when he passed by Hong Nong, the officials inside would hear the news and stop working and run out to welcome him. The people in the market also saw the long line of people coming over. Just as they were wondering which large caravan it was, a large flag with 9 rice seedlings surrounding a bonfire floated up. The bustling market instantly fell silent. These banners were far too familiar. They were unique to the Great Tang, and it was very easy to tell which banners represented whom. They're here. They're here. Xiao Bei and the others are here. A child from Old Willow Village was picking candy in the market. After seeing the flag, he gave up on the candy and the money. He ran toward the bridge with both arms and shouted at the top of his lungs. The candy seller looked at the money and then looked at the candy. He said to a dough maker next to him, help me take a look. I'll send the candy over. Don't let people think that I took his money for nothing. A person selling liangbi carefully kicked a cucumber, but that had just been thrown to the ground to the back of the cart. A person selling cabbages that had been stored for winter also picked and put the best-looking cabbages neatly in front of him. The people in the market stopped shouting. The shoppers stood motionless, and the sellers began to clean up. No one asked them to do so, but they felt that it should be so. Then the crowd waited. When the team came over, no one went forward to welcome them, until the villager of Old Willow Village led a group of people across the bridge. The market remained silent. The villager looked around and said to the people behind him, wait here. I'll go. After saying that, the old man tidied his clothes, raised his head and puffed out his chest, and walked unhurriedly toward the team. Xiao Bei and the others were ready to eat. They asked the chef to make a lot of food. There were already more than 1,500 people in their team, so they might as well make more. They even brought along the people from Old Willow Village and the people in the market. The flags that were raised did not belong to the two mistresses of the family. Xiao Bei and the others did not want others to know that their mother had followed them. At this moment, she was waiting for news from the capital. She was still using her family's intelligence network. The speed of transmission was slow, in her opinion. Her brother and sister had said that there was a place where no matter how far away it was, if one side wanted to talk to the other side, it would be done in the blink of an eye. The villager of Old Willow Village, Old Man Lu, moved over. The people in the team were doing their own things. Only a maidservant came over. "Third Grandpa, why did you come personally?" The young ladies and young masters said that they would invite you when the meal was ready. Hearing the maidservant's words, a smile appeared on the old man's face. Regardless of whether the maidservant would really invite him, the words coming from the maidservant's mouth made him feel comfortable. "It's not like I can't walk. Ah, where are Xiao Bei and the others? Take me to see them. In the blink of an eye, it should be half a year. Let me see how much taller they have grown." The old man's eyes looked at the biggest carriage in the middle. The maidservant came over to help him walk there. When they were 20 steps away from a carriage, someone had already told the people in the carriage the news of the village chief's arrival. Xiao Bei was the first to push open the door and jump out. She opened her arms and ran to the old man's side. She grabbed the old man's clothes with both hands and said happily, "Third Grandpa, I'm here again. Did you miss me?" Old Man Lu was overjoyed. He picked Xiao Bei up and kissed her hard. He said, "Yes, yes. Even if I didn't miss myself, I would still miss you guys. You're really heavy." "We missed Third Grandpa too. When we came, Sister Feifei said that every family in our village had built a house. I wished I could grow a pair of wings and fly to that place so that I could see it earlier. I know that if Third Grandpa was not the village chief, it would take at least half a year to build a house." Xiao Bei hugged Old Man Lu's neck with one hand and said, "Your little mouth is as sweet as honey." Old Man Lu finally knew why the current emperor doted on Xiao Bei and the others so much. Apart from her brother and sister being powerful, she herself was not bad. She was pretty and had a sweet mouth. She gave people the feeling that she was his own daughter. Xiao Bei also laughed and said, "Third Grandpa, you can choose today. What do you want to eat? I'll ask someone to make it for you. We have to have the ingredients we brought." At this time, the other 8 children also ran over. Li Jun and his sister Pan also followed outside and looked around curiously. The mistresses of the two families also came down one after another. Old Man Lu immediately put Xiao Bei down and walked a few steps forward. He was about to salute them when Jiang Wang clan reached out and stopped him. "Uncle Lu, there's no need to be so polite. We just came to take a look." When Old Man Lu saw that the two of them were wearing ordinary clothes and heard what they said, he didn't pretend to be polite. He nodded and said, "Okay, I'll ask someone to take out the good things stored in the village and ask the chef to make them. Let's all have a taste." Xiao Bei said, Okay. I like to eat the willow mushrooms in our village the most." "That's good. Quick, measure my Third Grandpa and make 2 sets of clothes." "Your Majesty, don't you want to rest? A day has passed and it's already noon. Don't even think about tax exemption." Zhang Xiaobao, who had just woken up after sleeping for 4 hours, saw that Li Longji was still staring blankly in a certain direction. He knew that Li Longji was definitely not concerned about the war. According to this schedule, if they wanted to fight, they would have to wait for another 2 days. However, they couldn't shorten the 1 versus 4 time limit. Otherwise, when the people below started to fight, they wouldn't be able to command them. Therefore, they could only wait. It wasn't much different from a real battle. The only difference was that they didn't have to rush to the battlefield. Li Longji rubbed his eyes and said, "I slept for a while last night and didn't think about tax exemption. Xiao Bei and the others don't need to mention tax exemption for 3 years. Even if they want a piece of land, I'll give it to them. You and Cuckoo help me build up my empire. My empire is so big, why would I lack the tax of a piece of land? I was just thinking, if my great Tang was as powerful as that country, would we be able to wipe out all those people? Also, those who like to fight will definitely die. I see that you and Cuckoo aren't worried about this at all. Why? Zhang Xiaobao understood. Li Longji was so bored that he started to think about deeper things. He picked up a cup of cold tea and rinsed his mouth before he replied, Your Majesty, the first question is it really possible? What if that country lives on the same sea and land as us and waits for us to develop? They didn't destroy us first. In the end, either they don't fight, or even if they do, it'll be a local war. Whoever forces the other into a corner will be doomed. It's said that they're researching a weapon, but they haven't succeeded yet. I don't think they'll succeed in the next 100 years. What weapon? Li Longji was afraid to hear the word weapon. He remembered that there was a cannon that could fly from Luzhou to the capital. It's a very powerful weapon. For example, the Hunan province. If you throw one of those weapons, it'll be gone. No one can go there for a few years. Otherwise, they'll either die or fall seriously ill. Zhang Xiaobao revealed something else to Li Longji. Li Longji's breathing quickened. He picked up a cup of herbal tea from the small table and took a sip. He was still thirsty, so he drank it all. There was still a tea leaf in his mouth. How are they going to deliver it? Li Longji asked. Do you see the skycracker monkeys and the disposable rocket launchers used by our army? Make a big one and put that thing on it. In theory, it'll fire wherever you point it at. It can fly very far. However, we haven't made a big skycracker monkey yet. It's very difficult. Zhang Xiaobao continued to lie. Can you intercept it? Li Longji knew about this. Yes. In theory, we can intercept it. Then, think of a way to stop it. If Great Tang has that kind of weapon, and there are enough of them, if someone wants to destroy Great Tang, they'll only die. I don't even attack my enemy's country. If I attack my own country, who can they stop me? Suicide? Mutual destruction. If there are enough of them, we'll detonate them all at once. No matter where they are, as long as they're standing on this land and the sky above them, they'll die with us. As for your Majesty's second question, it's very simple. A warmonger is a sure way to die. The first question is that war is a war of population and resources. If you keep fighting, your country won't be able to develop. The second question is that in the end, all the countries in the world will oppose you. Your Majesty, you don't have to worry about the first question. I'll control it well. I'll plunder as I fight. The second question will depend on the method used. In war, it's not necessary to use cannons. There are many methods we can use, such as using 2 peaches to kill 3 soldiers or driving a tiger to devour a wolf. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't worried at all. At the very least, he wouldn't use nuclear weapons while he was still alive. As for whether he could make it, that would depend on the speed of technological development. He didn't care about the second question either. In this world, the current Great Tang could be defeated unless something unexpected happened, such as an earthquake, a typhoon, or continuous rain or snow. Li Longji thought about it for a moment before nodding. If that's the case, I'm relieved. You guys can continue fighting and try to minimize the casualties. I'll take out money and have the commoners give birth to more children. The more children they give birth to, the more I'll reward them. I'll help them raise their children. When there are too many and I can't afford to raise them anymore, I'll have them raise them themselves. Li Longji was relieved. Just as he was about to talk to Zhang Xiaobao about something else, a person suddenly ran in from outside. He was dressed in the attire of the inner courtyard of the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang clan. Little young master, Little Miss Xiaobei has sent a message. Please take a look. The person passed a telegram over. Wang Wan took the telegram and glanced at it before passing it to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao also glanced at it before passing it to Li Longji. For me? Li Longji took the telegram and glanced at it in bewilderment. He wants an official for me, and he even wants a rank 7 official to manage a village. Xiao Bao, do you know how big a village needs a rank 7 official to manage? Li Longji asked Zhang Xiaobao with a smile. Zhang Xiaobao also laughed. A county magistrate is a rank 7 official, while a village chief is not even considered a rank 7 official. How can a village chief be a rank 7 official? Ah, Your Majesty, how about this? Xiao Bei wants a rank 7 official. Can you give it to her? Zhang Xiaobao looked at Li Longji and asked. Yes, but rank 7 official authority can only be arranged to be in the government over there. Hong Nong is not an ordinary county, and the county magistrate is not a rank 7 official. Otherwise, I would not have sent Xiao Bei and the rest out in a fit of anger. Lu Feifei is only in her teens and is still studying in school. She can't be as capable as you and Cuckoo, right? How can I arrange real authority for her? Tell me about your sister's request. Li Longji did not care about a rank 7 official. However, it was hard to find a rank 7 official, and there were none. If he had to arrange for Hong Nong to be the registrar, would Lu Feifei be suitable? Zhang Xiaobao was also in a dilemma. This sister of his, it was not easy to get an official position. At this time, Wang Wan said, Xiaobao, why don't we put her in charge of the agriculture temple? Old Willow Village has a lot of willow trees, and there is empty space around it. We can plant willow trees there. Let the agriculture temple come up with a plan, and Lu Feifei can be the messenger. With willow trees as station guards, we will have a rank 7 official. Li Longji clapped his hands. That's right. Lu Feifei, go and be station guard Lu. You will be directly under the agriculture temple. You will help to study the characteristics and use of various willow trees, and also the mutual promotion and suppression of other species. Rank 7 official. Come, Xiaobao, call your people here and use your family's intelligence network. Propose that Lu Feifei of Old Willow Village, Hongnong County, Guizhou, Hunan Province, Old Willow Village, Hongnong County, Guizhou, Hunan Province. Lu Feifei will be station guard Lu under the agriculture temple. All matters will be delegated by the agriculture temple, rank 7 official. The other side will send a telegram to the various levels, and the capital will send a document over. At that time, it will be really confirmed, and it will be recorded in the Ministry of Personnel and the Agriculture Temple. The local yamen will not care. They are directly under the Agriculture Temple and under the direct control of the central government. Although the rank is not high, and the position is not high, the power is great. They can go directly to the capital if they have something to do. Why don't other local officials have a try? When the news reached Xiao Bei's team in Old Willow Village, the food had just been prepared. Xiao Bei asked people in the village and the people in the market to eat together. It was lively. Lu Feifei's mood was not stable, and she was always absent-minded. When others talked to her, she would suddenly wake up. Old man Lu looked at her and found that something was wrong. He pulled Lu Feifei over and asked, Feifei, what's wrong with you? Are you still thinking about your brother? No. Lu Feifei shook her head. Xiao Bei said that the other side has arranged everything. I am, Sister Feifei, is afraid that I can't get the position she asked for. Don't worry. Uncle Emperor will give it to her. It is just a 7th grade official with real power, and it is not a big deal. If he really doesn't give it to me, I will resign from my patrol and retire to my hometown. Xiao Bei could think the same as Lu Feifei, and comforted her loudly. When the people heard her say that she would retire to her hometown, they laughed heartily. How old was she? She was already a skeleton? But as soon as they laughed, they suddenly realized what she said before. Wasn't it just a 7th grade official with real power? Now they could not laugh. If a 7th grade official with real power was not a big deal, what would be considered a big deal? Old man Lu's reaction was the most direct. He jumped up and looked at Xiao Bei in disbelief, asking in a trembling voice, Xiao Bei, did you really ask for a 7th grade official for Feifei? Yes, a 7th grade official, and it has to be able to manage things. An 8th grade official does not sound good. A 6th grade official can be the county magistrate of Hongnong. It is not easy for me to ask Uncle Emperor to do something for me. Later, Uncle Emperor may not ask me to do anything. No matter how low the official position is, I will compensate for it. Xiao Bei explained very seriously why it was a 7th grade official instead of a 6th grade official or an 8th grade official. As soon as he finished speaking, the team's radio station received the appointment, and the person in charge came over to whisper to Xiao Bei. Well, Uncle Emperor scolded me. He said that next time when I ask for an official position, I should pay attention to the place and the grade. Don't ask for one that doesn't exist. Isn't this cheating? Hee hee, congratulations, Sister Fei Fei. From now on, you are Station Supervisor Lu, under the jurisdiction of the Agriculture Temple in Old Willow Village, Hongnong County, Guizhou, Hunan Province. You are a 7th grade official. Come, give something to Sister Fei Fei. Xiao Bei shook his head and clapped his hands to congratulate her. The family took Lu Fei Fei to the carriage. When Lu Fei Fei came out again, her clothes were changed. It was a green robe with a small flower on it. If one smelled it carefully, one could smell the smell of cloth. A group of people had just rushed out and had not rinsed it yet. Lu Fei Fei also held a small official seal in her hand. It was carved out of jade and had not been inlaid with copper, but it was still too much. The official document will be issued in the future. Now, Sister Fei Fei, you are an official. You can use your seal for now. Don't think about whether it's beyond the limit. It's Uncle Emperor's fault for not giving it to you. If someone asks, you can tell them that it's an ordinary stone. That means you don't recognize it as jade. I'll also give you a silver fish pouch. Xiao Bei knew everything, but he insisted on teaching Lu Fei Fei to play dumb. Chapter 1000. Lu Fei Fei didn't know how to express herself. She could only listen to Xiao Bei and nod her head. She had a lot of thoughts in her mind. This was an official. Her brother was bullied by an official when he was selling dolls in Jiangzhou. Perhaps the official who bullied her brother wasn't even a level 7 official. A level 7 official was already a county magistrate. With an official position, he could do whatever he wanted. If he wanted people to build drains, he could do so. If he wanted people to plant willows, he could do so. If he wanted people to plant willows, he could plant willows. If he wanted to plant any species, he would have to ask the experts in the village. Xiao Bei, don't worry. I'll do my best. If you don't know how to do it, you can ask Third Grandpa first. Our group is rich, and I'll get a lot of money in the future. I promise that I won't be greedy when I become the supervisor. If I use my power for personal gain, bring me your head. We're sisters, so I'll give you a quick death. Speaking of this, Xiao Bei seemed to be a different person. I asked Uncle Emperor for an official position because I want to use his favor for personal gain. But since I want Old Willow Village to develop well, and I can't guard it myself, I can only arrange it for you. If you do something wrong, I won't say that the world is righteous. I'll only say that for Uncle Emperor's trust, even if you don't deserve to die, I'll impeach you. You know that all the officials we impeach are innocent and have 5 grades. So, Sister Fei Fei, if you need anything, tell me first. We'll help you think of a way. You can't do it secretly. Lu Fei Fei didn't think that Xiao Bei was wrong at all. She still nodded. I know. When you investigate officials, you'll have the help of your family's intelligence network. So, you can't be wrong. I won't learn from Yan Zheng. I heard that he's still alive and is on the street outside the palace. At most, yes. If I can't make a decision in the future, I'll ask Third Grandpa. If Third Grandpa can't make a decision, he'll ask you. If you can't make a decision, you can ask Brother Xiao Bao and Sister Cuckoo. Can they do it? That's right. My brother and sister are very capable. Uncle Emperor and the civil and military officials have to ask my brother and sister for help when they can't figure it out. When Xiao Bei heard others mention her brother and sister, she immediately became proud. When the two of them talked, they did not avoid the people around them. The people in the village and the people in the market listened and watched. They found that they could not find Xiao Bei even if they wanted to. This was because they discovered that Xiao Bei was very calm. She did not mention the righteousness of the world, nor did she talk about the morality of the past and present. They only thought that she had selfish motives. She liked Old Willow Village, so she used her connections to directly ask for an official position from the current dynasty's emperor. If she said it was a 7th rank, then it was a 7th rank. If she said it was a real position, then it was a real position. They didn't fear her authority, but they couldn't accuse her of having bad intentions. Moreover, she was so cute and beautiful, and she was also the little sister of Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Not far away, Xiaohai stood up. He was relatively calm. He held his sister's shoulder and said to the surrounding people, "There are rules in every trade, and every country has its laws. Even if you are a thief, you are not allowed to rob if you can't steal. Those who sell things don't play dirty tricks, such as pouring water into the meat. You should earn the money you earn, but when you shouldn't, don't let me see it." "Who dares?" A butcher continued Xiaohai's words. His voice was very loud. It was not that he was not afraid, but he found that the 9 children were very reasonable. Therefore, he gathered his courage and said what he wanted to say. "The pork that I, Dingy Dao, sell are all pigs that I carefully selected. Those who buy my meat know that when the pigs are driven by me, they are so hungry that they are crying out. Pour water? Even if they want to drink, I won't let them drink, right?" The person who called himself Ding Dao shouted to the side. Those who had bought meat in the surroundings also shouted, "Yes." Xiaohai ignored him. His character had always been like this. He turned around and walked to his mother's side. Xiao Yuan was more easygoing and always took the blame. He stood up and agreed with the other party. "Idao, I think it's a knife in and a knife out. His skills are good." Ding Idao didn't care about Xiaohai's attitude. He didn't mention Xiaohai's identity and only said that he was a businessman. He had encountered many buyers who were difficult to talk to, so he was already used to it. However, when Xiao Yuan praised him, he was happy. Although he was a butcher, his mind was still alive. He knew that when Xiao Yuan praised him and he worked hard, Ding Idao's title would be set. There was no need for the emperor to praise him. As long as one of the 9 people praised him, he would be able to stand in the Tang Empire. After all, Xiao Bei casually asked for a 7th rank official. Thinking of this, Ding Idao turned around and ran. His legs moved so fast that he almost knocked the 2 people down. Just as Xiao Yuan was wondering why he was running away, Ding Idao came back, dragging a fat pig that looked like it weighed about 200 pounds. "There's still one alive. I'll kill it for you. If I can't kill it with one knife, I'll bite it to death." As Ding Idao spoke, he took out a 2-foot-long knife from his waist. It was a narrow knife, not a chopper. The knives used to kill pigs were different from those used to cut meat and bones. He didn't dare to hold the knife to Xiao Yuan to show that he was not aggressive. If he held it like that, his hand would definitely be broken. Instead, he bit the back of the knife with his teeth, put his hands behind his back, and looked at Xiao Yuan. "Stand down." A person stood out from behind Xiao Yuan. It was Zhang Chang. He asked the 2 fast gunmen to step back and said to Ding Idao, "Where's the blood basin? I'll help you with the blood. Don't waste it. Some people like to eat blood tofu." Ding Idao was stunned for a moment. Because he was trusted, his eyes turned red. Tears welled up in his eyes. He spat the knife on the ground, turned around, and ran again. When he came back, he held a basin with blood inside. He shook it vigorously and handed it to Zhang Chang. "Walk east from here. About 15 to 6 Li Ding village is my home. My name is Ding Desha. The people standing here know me. I have a father and a mother. My wife is also from my village. I also have 2 children. Dewa is 5 years old and Erwa is 3 years old." Ding Idao picked up the knife and rubbed it twice on the 3 layers of pigskin belt that reached his thigh. Xiao Bei smiled and said, "Well, I can tell that your skills are good from the way you wipe the knife. Sister Feifei, in the future, if you want to buy good meat, you can go to his village and ask him to choose good meat for you. If he doesn't choose good meat, he won't pay." The originally tense atmosphere eased up after Xiao Bei's words. Zhang Chang didn't hesitate. He carried the basin to the pig. The pig found that the situation was not right. He didn't move. Ding Dao didn't stop. He held the handle of a knife and pulled the pig's ear. When the pig raised its head and struggled, his right hand suddenly stabbed the pig's lower left neck. Ow! The pig cried out miserably. Ding Dao flipped his wrist, half a circle, and threw the knife to the side. He rode on top of the tied-up pig, whose forehooves were lying on the ground. His right arm wrapped around the pig's neck, while his left hand pulled on his right hand and tried to lift the pig's head up. The pig's blood splashed into the basin that Zhang Chang was holding. Zhang Chang said that he wanted to get the pig's blood, but he couldn't free his hands. It was Xiao Yuan, who hated blood the most, who grabbed the chopsticks and mixed it with the water mixed with wine. The blood foam had piled up to an inch high in the basin, and the blood below could hardly be seen. The strangled pig reflexively struggled a few more times, but in the end, it stopped moving. Zhang Chang had a hard time holding on to half a basin full of blood. He sat on the ground and gritted his teeth. Okay, remove the pig's hair. Ding Dao loosened his hand and shouted to the people next to him. A person who looked like his disciple took the pig and pulled it to the side. It's so fishy. Xiao Bei came over and sniffed. She looked scared. It's too cruel. I'm afraid of seeing blood. The pig is so pitiful. Xiao Yuan, who was splashed with blood, threw away the chopsticks. Okay, don't pretend. Are you afraid of pig's blood? Haven't you seen human blood? Ding Dao is really a knife. The pig only struggled twice. Unfortunately, its heart was broken. How can it be the same? I eat pigs, not humans. When I eat pigs, I think of the scene when I kill pigs. I'm the most soft-hearted, right? Xiao Bei seemed to be saying to Xiao Yuan, but also seemed to be calling on the people around to support her. However, no one said anything because they all thought of Yan Zheng. After almost 3 seconds, the people in the inner courtyard near the Zhang Chang and Wang families suddenly shouted, "Yes." See, many people agree. Regardless of whether it's true or not, I'm happy to hear it. Xiao Bei said with a smile. She didn't have high expectations. Of course, the happiest person was Ding Dao. The 3 treasures of the Zhang Chang and Wang families were so close to him just now and even helped him. He had to brag about this trust when he returned to the village. He would brag about it every day, and for a year, others would crowd around him to listen. Lu Feifei, who had just become a Shangguan, saw that the killing was over. She carefully came over and looked at the blood in the basin. She asked puzzledly, "Can't we just cut the blood vessels? There's no need to use such a long knife." Ding Dao rubbed his hands on his body and answered, "Okay, but pigs live a long life. When we kill animals, we pay particular attention to one cut. We kill as fast as we can. 1 cut to kill a chicken, 1 cut to kill a pig, 1 cut to kill a cow, 1 cut to kill a cow, 1 cut to kill a chicken, 1 cut to kill a pig, 1 cut to kill a cow." Lu Feifei nodded in understanding. She looked at the blood on the ground and where Ding Dao's disciple was. She pursed her lips and worried. Ding Dao's disciple was there to remove the pig's hair. There was a stove made of mud and a big pot boiling water. The dead pig was placed on a wooden board. Ding Dao's disciple was splashing hot water on it while removing the hair. His movements were skillful and fast. Someone was standing nearby. It seemed that he wanted to buy a piece of meat after he was done. He didn't think about the taste first. He only thought about the fact that it was Zhang Chang's children who helped to kill it. Ding Dao followed Lu Feifei's gaze and found this matter. He shouted, "Don't wait. I'm not selling. I'll give it to Old Willow Village. I'll let the officials divide it. What do you think, Official Lu?" Ding Dao's joking words didn't make Lu Feifei laugh. She looked at the water on the ground and shook her head. "This won't do." "Why not? I don't need a pig." Ding Dao said generously, "It's not a pig. I want a pig. It's the blood from killing the pig and the dirty water from cleaning the pig. After a few days, it will be warm." Won't it be full of flies? There are also the vegetable leaves and fish intestines from the market. Previously, I told Xiao Bei that we should dig a drain and flush it into the river. Now it seems that it won't work. The blood and the fishy smell can't be washed away. Third grandfather, what should we do? Lu Feifei became an official and began to exercise her power. She had the right to decide, but she couldn't do anything. She could only ask the village chief, who was also the village chief. Old Man Lu had been in a special state of excitement ever since he saw that the little girl in his family had become an official. The Lu family of Old Willow Village had first produced him, a person who could get money from the government every year, and now they had produced a 7th-rank official. There were many children who did business with Xiao Bei. If he died, he would have something to say to his ancestors. When he returned, he would take Fei-er to the ancestral house to worship the ancestors. Fei-er's branch would also be promoted. While he was thinking, Lu Feifei had asked him twice. She touched him again, and he came back to his senses. After listening to her again, he waved his hand generously. It's okay. Just throw it away. The market will disperse and go to the river. What's there to be afraid of? They won't kill people. Why won't people die? I learned in school that flies will make people sick. Even if they don't die from the bite, they will die from the illness. It can't be like this. I'd rather not go to the market. Lu Feifei became a senior official, and her temper became worse. Xiao Bei listened to them and was also worried. She was not worried about the market in Old Willow Village. She had a way to deal with the problem of a village. She was worried that there were many villages in Tang like this, and many people had the same idea as Third Grandpa. Lu Feifei said that she did not want to go to the market. Xiao Bei walked to her side and pulled her arm. It's easy. I'll ask people to build a big methane pool. Throw the dirty things in, but don't throw the wood. It's just like the one in Old Willow Village. Zheng Construction should have built it for us, right? It has been built, but it hasn't been used yet. We have to wait for the first thing to turn into gas. Then, who will take care of it after it's built? We have to allocate some people to collect the methane pool. Then we can't work and earn less money. Lu Feifei said a very practical problem. You're right. Xiao Bei also thought of this problem after hearing Lu Feifei's words. It was not good to rely on the people who sold things. There had to be specialized people to do it. However, this kind of market did not collect taxes. If you charged them 1 coin per month as management fee, they would not accept it. Wait. It's time to eat. Let's eat first. I'll discuss it with them. Xiao Bei first asked people to distribute the food one by one. After greeting herself and Xiao Yuan's mother, she asked the maids to serve them. She asked Xiao Yuan and the other 8 people to sit together. They did not want to be disturbed. They discussed things while eating. Xiao Yuan and the other 8 people had been used to the meeting. They gathered together and whispered, not in the mood to eat. Those who were invited to eat ate quickly. After a quarter, many people finished eating and went back to where they were supposed to be. The people who sold things in the market cleaned up consciously. Lu Feifei had just said this, so they could not go against her. At this time, the group of 9 people finished their discussion. Xiao Bei hurriedly finished half a bowl of rice and came to Lu Feifei's table. She said with a smile, "Well, the problem is solved." Lu Feifei's table was full of important people with the surname Lu in Old Willow Village. Old Lu, as the patriarch, sat in the north and faced the south. It was the main seat. Lu Feifei sat in the first seat on the left. From today on, her status changed. The people around the table were all sitting on folding stools to eat. When they saw Xiao Bei coming, they all stood up. Lu Feifei went to the front, held Xiao Bei's hand and asked happily, "What should we do?" "Find a person in charge of our village and pay him a salary every month. As for the money, let the Dynasty temple pay for it, or let the people who sell things do it. What do you think? Awesome, right?" Xiao Bei showed a look of "I am awesome." Lu Feifei smacked her lips and shook her head gently. Why should the Dynasty temple pay for it? The people who sell things are even more unwilling to pay. Let's talk about the people who sell things first. There are people who sell soup pancakes in the market, right? There are people who sell tea, pancakes, fruits, and other things. Even if they want to kill a pig, they have to shed its hair. They bring firewood to burn. It takes time to pick up the firewood. They can use this time to do other things, such as buying firewood, which is also expensive. Let's do it like this outside our village. In the market next to the Hongnong amusement park, there can be a night market at night. Whoever lights it with methane will pay. Xiao Bei stretched out a finger and said while shaking it. Not only Lu Feifei, but also the people who heard it nodded to show their agreement. Secondly, why should the Sinongsi temple pay? Because they need to try planting all kinds of seeds in various places. They can't ask people to bring fertilizer from the capital. If they use the fertilizer in our methane pool, we will charge them. The Sinongsi temple will research good seeds suitable for local planting and sell them to the farmers. The farmers will increase their food supply and earn more money. Isn't this a good idea? When Xiao Bei mentioned the second point, the number of fingers on his finger increased from 1 to 2. The people who heard it were all stunned. It should have been a difficult problem to deal with, but after hearing Xiao Bei's words, they felt it was a good deal. Xiao Bei, you are so awesome. Do you want to do this in all places in the Tang Empire? You have to tell His Majesty first. Lu Feifei jumped happily and looked at Xiao Bei with admiration in her eyes. Xiao Bei was very embarrassed. He waved his hand and said, "What's so great about it? I was just bragging. When we discussed it just now, we found that there were many problems. There were problems with the specific construction, management, rules, laws, and follow-up development. Anyway, you know there are many problems. We can't figure them out. Later, we will send a message back to the capital and ask my brother and sister. I will pay to build the methane pool in the market of our village." Everyone was stunned by Xiao Bei's words. It was just building a methane pool. Why did it become so troublesome in Xiao Bei's words? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also felt it was troublesome. Xiao Bei sent the message to them. When they saw what was written on the paper, they immediately had a headache. This is a system of independent departments, and, at the same time, there must be contact with other departments. Who will pay for the methane pool? How to recover the cost? How to calculate the extra profit after paying the management staff? Who will be responsible for collecting the money? This alone is a special arrangement, not to mention other problems. Zhang Xiaobao had never thought that so many things would happen when his younger brother and sister went out. Wang Wan snatched the paper and gestured for Zhang Xiaobao to look at the sand table. There's no need for us to think about it ourselves. Let them worry about it first. Come and look at the sand table. Where is the main force of the enemy's vanguard? Zhang Xiaobao looked at the model left behind by the last message from his side. He really wanted to get a sand table of the enemy and compare the two. That would make things easier. If it's not in the south, then it's in the north. In any case, it can't be in the middle. The fire is still burning. Zhang Xiaobao said. Around the same time, Zhang Shogui said the same thing as Zhang Xiaobao. However, there was someone called Wang Yi who said something different. My camp is still lying in ambush within the forest fire region. I request for the referee group to show me the detailed data of the forest fire within our field of vision in theory. My camp still has people there. Chapter 1001. Wang Wan was also looking at the sand table. At this time, her Central Army model had already arrived near Mount Huangshan. She frowned slightly and remained motionless in thought. Li Longji and his group were still in her room. After arriving, Li Longji did not want to leave. He had sent over a few official documents, all of which were handed over to Gao Lisher for approval. In his words, it was, "Don't bother me with small matters. You can discuss the important matters with your son and daughter-in-law." Zhang Xiaobao also did not bother with his sister's matter. This kind of problem involved an entire department, so it was impossible to casually come up with a solution. As for his younger siblings carrying out their plan in Old Willow Village, he would let them do it. If they did well, he would summarize his experience and see if he could replicate it in other places. If they did not do well, at most they would lose some money. For this small amount of money, it would be enough if his younger siblings ate one less abalone or one less bowl of shark's fin. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao's eyes were fixed on the Jiangnan East Road. Fuyang County was a good place. It was surrounded by mountains. The mountains were not tall, but they were connected. There was not much water, but it was a good place to develop tourism. But at this time, this place was lacking a sliver of comfort and had an indescribable strangeness. It just so happened that it was at the edge of the forest fire. Today, it was blowing west wind, so the fire had not reached here yet. Zhang Xiaobao felt that this was normal. In theory, Fuyang County could not have so many north winds. It was a coastal area. If it was always blowing north winds, wouldn't it become the climate of Sichuan, Shaanxi, Mongolia, and the northeast? The big dice also had to be played with the highest probability. In the current season, if one were to play a hailstorm, the first to be dealt with would be the referees. What if it was Guizhou? Zhang Xiaobao was looking at this place because it was his logistics team. Logically speaking, a regiment of people should have arrived at this place. This regiment's weapons were slightly inferior, but they were definitely not arranged to provide logistics for the vanguard. Instead, they were arranged to be in this position as an infant. The logistics team's banner was that they were an independent regiment of the main force. They surpassed the number of normal regiments, reaching 2,000 people. Zhang Xiaobao was trying to guess whether Zhang Shogui's vanguard had placed its main force on the south or the faint force on the south. Logically speaking, the adventurous Zhang Shogui should have placed his forces on the north, where transporting artillery and supplies was more difficult. The adventurous and opportunistic Zhang Shogui had a high chance of catching the enemy off guard. But he was also worried that Zhang Shogui's subordinates would dissuade him. If he changed his mind, the regiment he had arranged would be easily wiped out. If Zhang Shogui couldn't do it, then there was no need for him to follow Wang Wan in the military selection. He would just go to Zhang Shogui's room, drag him out, and give him a beating. Damn it, with such good weapons and support equipment, your main vanguard can't even take care of a logistics team that uses cold weapons? To die, to live is to waste food. Zhang Xiaobao was now waiting. According to the one, for ratio, the other side should have sent someone over. The army was not on a tour. They clearly knew that there were many mountains here. So why didn't they hurry over to seize a good position? Zhang Xiaobao wanted to see if a messenger had suddenly placed a model of a fireworks signal on the sand table. If it was placed, it meant that his logistics team had encountered the main force of the enemy. Similarly, a fireworks signal would be used to send a message. Pass down my order. Have my people transport 5,000 dan of dry rations to Xinqiang County near Changjiang. Zhang Xiaobao gave the order to the messenger. The messenger left, but not long after, he returned. Young master, the judges are asking you, your 50,000 logistics team is busy. Where are you going to find people to transport the dry rations? My tribe is all dead? Take all the boys above the age of 10 from my tribe and send them to transport the rations. If they really don't allow me to transport them, ask the judges if the great Tang general's team needs to transport artillery and supplies from a mainland. My mother *her country is about to fall, so why would I care who the logistics team is? Ask His Majesty if the enemy attacks the periphery of the capital, who can hold weapons in the capital. Will they pick up the weapons and fight for their lives, or stay at home and wait for the enemy to rush in to rob and rape? Ask the judges to randomly grab 100 people outside the Furong Garden. If that's really the case, how will they choose? Go and ask. Zhang Xiaobao turned to look at the messenger and said. Li Longji stopped thinking at this time and raised his head. If that's really the case, I'll stand on the Vermilion Bird Avenue and fight with the people of Chang, and until the end. Your Majesty, you can't do that. If that's really the case, you can fly in a hot air balloon. When you fly to the north of Hebei province, you'll be safe. That's where Xiao Bao and Cuckoo live, so the defense won't be bad. Gao Lisher quickly dissuaded him. Li Longji didn't insist at this moment because he himself couldn't think of what choice he would make when that time came. Would he follow the people in the city or go far away? Things hadn't happened yet, so he couldn't test his own humanity. Then he asked Zhang Xiaobao, Xiaobao, what will you and Cuckoo decide at that time? Fight first and run when we find that we can't win. If we don't have other places to reorganize the army, Cuckoo and I have to die for our country. If the north of Hebei province isn't occupied, Cuckoo and I will naturally take you with us. It's not that Cuckoo and I are cowards. We're not afraid of death, and we've never been afraid. When I'm needed to die, I can die for a child. When she's needed to die, she can die alone for a duty. But we definitely won't follow Xiang Yu's example. We'll leave because, from our current position, our lives don't completely belong to us. When Zhang Xiaobao answered, he didn't look at Li Longji, but at Wang Wan. Wang Wan smiled sweetly and nodded. She agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's words because they had already done it once and had no regrets. Li Longji was speechless for a moment. He felt that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very contradictory. Since they were going to run, why did they have to say that they weren't afraid of death? But he still nodded to the messenger, indicating that Zhang Xiaobao's words were correct. He told him to go find the adjudicators. When the adjudicators heard this, they took it seriously and really sent people outside to find 100 people in the capital. Wait a moment. When the person sent by the adjudicators arrived outside the hibiscus garden, he saw a person carrying a pole and making clay figurines. He reached out to stop him. The man looked at the person who stopped him in surprise, his face full of confusion. Hello, I'm one of the adjudicators in the hibiscus garden. Over there, we're giving Cuckoo an exam. I know. What's the matter? The clay figurine maker didn't wait for the other person to finish and interrupted. Oh, you know? The adjudicator smiled and suddenly asked seriously, let me ask you something. If the enemy is outside the capital, will you hide or go to the palace to get a gun and fight with them? The clay figurine maker's expression suddenly changed. Who's fighting? They're attacking the capital? Where are they from? Where are Cuckoo and Xiaobao? You don't need to know where they're from. Cuckoo, Xiaobao, and the emperor are on the streets organizing people to fight against the enemy. What's your choice? The adjudicators asked. The clay figurine maker threw the pole aside. They're really fighting? Damn it, what's there to choose? Give me a gun. No, I don't know how to use that. Don't we have grenades in Tang? Give me a few, and I'll rush out and fight with them. Don't be agitated. It's fake. I'm just asking. How can Xiaobao and Cuckoo let the enemy attack the capital? You can sell it yourself. The adjudicators quickly explained. Fake? Then why are you asking me? Don't ask such a stupid question next time. The clay figurine seller angrily picked up the pole again and continued to walk around the hibiscus garden selling clay figurines. The adjudicators bowed. Yes, you're right. Take care. Another adjudicator found a woman who had just finished shopping on the streets. She was carrying a basket and laughing with several other women who were also carrying baskets. Sister-in-law, I'm from the imperial court. That the enemy is outside the capital. Do you want to hide or take a weapon and fight with the enemy? When did this happen? How should I tell you? Oh no, I have to go back and prepare leather armor for my man. They're already here? This woman's reaction was the most direct. She threw the basket away and ran away. Don't, wait a moment. The adjudicators pulled the woman back and said without hesitation, don't be anxious. It's nothing. It's just a hypothesis. In fact, no one is attacking. I'm just asking casually. The other women also stopped. They also had 2 baskets thrown on the ground. When they heard the self-proclaimed imperial court member's explanation, their breathing quickened. You scammer. I still have a pound of wine in my basket for my man. The jar must have been broken. You have to compensate me. A woman who had thrown away her basket grabbed the arm of the adjudicator and said with a glare, I still have 2 pounds of eggs in my basket. Tell me clearly, what are you from the imperial court? You dare to lie. Do you see Yan Zheng outside the palace? Another woman picked up her basket and lifted the cloth covering it. The eggs inside were all broken. The adjudicator was frightened. He bent his legs and said with a grin, compensate, won't that do? Don't pinch me. When we get home, my wife will ask who pinched me. How much? I'll pay. Only then did the women let him go. They took his money and turned to walk back to the market. They could faintly hear comments like idiot and idiot. Another member of the judging panel stopped a child who was about 12 or 13 years old. Wait a moment. I'm the one who helped Judge Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in the hibiscus garden. I want to ask you something. The adjudicator tried his best to make his expression more amiable. The child's tears immediately flowed out. I'm not lying this time. I'm really sick. Last time, I wanted to go fishing, so I lied. When I got home, my father hit me. The school also said that if it happened again, they wouldn't want me anymore. I really don't dare. If you don't believe me, look at my hand. I still have cotton flowers. Here, look, do you see? There's a needle mark below. When I was changing my teeth, my face became swollen. The teacher gave me a leave of absence and asked me to go on an intravenous drip. I just finished and want to go back to school. The adjudicator blinked a few times and felt helpless. Why did he meet a child who once skipped school? No wonder there weren't many children on the street. They all went to school. It's okay. It's okay to skip school. I don't care. Why don't your school find a doctor? The adjudicator's mind was very active. He could think of many things. First, he was concerned about the school. Didn't you catch me and then not let me go to school? The child asked uncertainly. Seeing the adjudicator nod, he was relieved. Actually, the school can call a doctor, but I don't want to learn the Analects of Confucius. I want to learn how to build a boat, so I asked for leave. Isn't there a place that sells model boats? I said I came here to see a doctor. Anyway, I'm young, and I don't need to spend money to find a doctor anywhere. The teacher was very stupid, so he approved. He also told me some words in the Analects of Confucius. He said that there is no discrimination in education, and that I should do things according to my conscience. He said that the world is big, and it's a mess. I don't understand. Anyway, I came out. The adjudicator took a deep breath, touched the child's head, and said, "Yes, you met a stupid teacher. In this case, you should learn how to build a boat well. It's a rare opportunity. Which school do you attend? What's the teacher's name?" The school affiliated to the Joy House. It's the Joy House opened by the Zhang family and the Wang family in Sanshui County. I thought they were very powerful, but they found a stupid teacher. His name is Chung, and his name is Chung. I heard that the Zhang family and the Wang family give him a lot of money every month. Is it not worth it? If I have a chance to meet Brother Xiaobao and Sister Cuckoo, I'll tell them to change teachers. When the child said the teacher's name, he was very solemn, but after saying it, he became mischievous. Foolish, truly foolish. If he was teaching little young Master Xiaobao, little Lady Wan Wan, or even little Bei, little Yuan, and the others, he would definitely not be scolded. Little young Master and little Lady would respect him very much. The adjudicator's face didn't look good. Obviously, he was angry. The child didn't fail to see it. He said, "There's something even more stupid." The teacher actually said that when the weather is warmer, he will ask people to dig a pool in the school for boats. He will let everyone learn how to build boats and see who can do it better. Doesn't he know that I like boats? If that's the case, isn't he providing a chance for me, a child who doesn't like to study, to play? Right? Yes, yes. The people of the Zhang family and the Wang family are really extraordinary. Even the teacher of the school, affiliated to the Joy residence, can do this. They are really famous. The referees looked at the child with a hint of disgust. Then they let out a long sigh. All right, I admit that I'm not as broad-minded as your teacher. You're still a child. I shouldn't treat you like an adult and ask for things from you. Now let me ask you something. If the enemy is outside the capital and is about to enter, will you continue to go to the clinic or help to deliver ammunition? The child didn't understand what the other side said at all. He only responded to the latter part of the sentence. They're coming to the capital? Then what's the point of looking at the illness? If they really come in, won't they bully me to death? How can the Tang Empire be insulted by others? Do they have boats? I'm very good at swimming. I'll jump into the canal and sink their boats. If they don't have boats, I'll bite a knife and hide along the riverbank. If someone doesn't pay attention, I'll climb up and cut his neck. I'm very good at fighting. My classmates in the school all know that. Really, do you believe me? I believe you. I believe that you are a good child. But if you want to build a boat, you can't build it just by looking. You have to learn the skills. You have to know the balance of the boat and calculate the displacement. We can either not build a boat or build the best one. At least in a school, we can't let other people's boats surpass ours, right? When the pool is dug out and you lose, how shameful will it be? The referees thought about many things in an instant and said these words in the end. The child bowed his head and thought for a moment. Then he turned around and walked back. After walking a dozen steps, he turned back and said, I'm going back to the school. There are teachers teaching other things. I have to learn well. When fighting, I have to rush to the front. Goodbye. The child waved his hand and ran away. The adjudicator also waved his hand with a smile on his face. Chapter 1002. Just like Zhang Xiaobao, Zhang Shogui had two additional models representing the pillars of smoke on the sand table. The only difference was that Zhang Xiaobao had not received any other information. He had received a message from the radio station from the 1st Vanguard Brigade. It said that when they circled around the burning forest from the south, they found two smoke pillars rising from the mountains and determined that the enemy was using them to transmit signals. They sent people to investigate, but Fuyang was surrounded by rolling hills and thick fog, making it impossible to see with binoculars. Until now, they hadn't received any useful information. The commander of the 1st Brigade had the surname Yang, and his first name was Chang. When he saw the messenger placing the smoke pillars on his sand table, he deliberately asked why there were only smoke pillars and no traces of the enemy. We have binoculars, so we should be able to find them. The scout team has already advanced several dozen li. The messenger replied that the referees had found a way to hide the enemy based on their report. Furthermore, the fog was too thick, so they determined that they hadn't found the enemy. Zhang Shogui looked at the smoke pillars on the sand table and ordered the 1st Brigade to protect the ammunition and be careful of the enemy's sneak attack. Find out the number of troops the enemy is in. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have such speed of transmission. Not only did he not transmit the information, he also didn't allow him to steal the radio station and use it. He turned to Li Longji and asked, Your Majesty, who do you think the enemy is? Is there a need to ask? Of course it's. You can guess what it is. Of course, I know. I can go to the central sand table, so don't think of getting any information from me. Otherwise, I'll consider you breaking the rules. Li Longji was just about to say something when he suddenly realized that the information he received was different from Zhang Xiaobao's. He knew everyone's movements, so he glared at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be enlightened and said, Oh, right, you're different from me. I forgot. I thought you didn't know either. Let's guess together. Since you haven't gone to the central sand table, guess, how do you think my logistics team will fight? This time, Li Longji really didn't know. There were many people in the panel of judges, and they had to analyze and evaluate all sorts of information, as well as the tactics given by the commanders of the battalions and squadrons. Only then would they be able to give a rough estimate of the losses suffered by both sides. Li Longji was stumped for a moment, but he didn't want to admit that he couldn't do it. After thinking hard, he said with a firm expression and an uncertain tone, Isn't that simple? They have guns and cannons, as well as all kinds of auxiliary weapons. If you want to fight with cold weapons, you can only run to the mountains. You can use bows and arrows to attack from a high vantage point, but your troop only has 2,500 people, while the enemy's troop has countless people. Let's not talk about the difference in numbers, but you're at a disadvantage in terms of weapons. I think the enemy will bring their cannons over and bombard the mountain where your regiment is at. Li Longji almost spilled the beans. He stretched out his hand and pointed at the model of a regiment on Zhang Xiaobao's sand table. The model had already been placed on one of the mountains on the sand table, so it was obvious that it was at a high vantage point. Zhang Xiaobao also smiled and didn't care at all. He then asked his godfather, "Godfather, how do you think my regiment will fight?" Gao Lisher was very nervous now. The battle was about to begin, and the first real clash between both sides had been waiting for so long. Who would win and who would lose? In his own situation, Xiaobao only had a logistics team in the Fuyang area, while the enemy had a brigade. It was 2,500 people against 5,000 people, and this was in a situation where there was a huge disparity in weapons. After thinking for a while, he said, "It won't be easy to fight unless you want to burn down the mountain again. That way, you can hide first and then light up the fire. Perhaps you can take the enemy down with you before they know it." However, the enemy general isn't stupid. He's someone who has been learning from Cuckoo for 3 years. Since you put him in this position, it means that he's capable enough. Gao Lisher had also unknowingly let his mouth slip. When he said that he had been learning for 3 years, Zhang Xiaobao knew that the other party wasn't Zhang Shogui. Seeing that his godfather still wanted to say more, he hurriedly stopped him. "Godfather, you can't say any more. That's not fair. Let's just watch." Li Longji was vexed because he couldn't see anything. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have any advanced communication tools, so he couldn't reflect the real-time situation on the battlefield. After watching for a while, Li Longji got up and left the room. He walked towards the sand table in the center. When he got there, he was shocked. Just now, he had seen a model of an entire battalion on Zhang Xiaobao's sand table. Now, all that was left on the model was the flag of the regiment and the number of people in the battalion. The rest of the people had spread out. 2 battalions had run to the 2 mountains in front of the regiment headquarters, while less than a battalion of soldiers had hidden in an even higher mountain behind the regiment headquarters. Seeing this situation, Li Longji suddenly understood. So that's how it is. Because Xiaobao's communication speed is slow, he doesn't know how the regiment is arranged. All he knows is that there's a symbol there. This is the previous arrangement. After muttering to himself, Li Longji was puzzled. Then why is Xiaobao smiling? Could it be that he knows the current situation of the regiment? When the referees next to him heard the emperor's question, they explained, "According to our judgment, Zhang Xiaobao does know, because he was the one who came up with the idea. Wang Wan's troops are the same. They are using the tunnel tactic, and it's not the ordinary kind where they directly dig a tunnel. Instead, they are using a trench. Their people are staying in the trench. When the cannonballs fall, their casualties will be very small, and it will be more difficult for the bullets to hit them. If the 2 sides are fighting, when they are 100 steps away, their bows and arrows and throwing spears made of local trees won't be in a disadvantageous situation." Li Longji stood there and thought carefully for a while. He nodded and said, "If they are looking down from a higher ground, within 100 steps, they won't be in a disadvantageous position. Both sides can attack each other. The difference is that if the battle goes on for a long time, they won't be able to draw their bows, but the other side won't have a problem shooting. The difference between the bullet and the arrow is also different. How do you judge?" In reply to your Majesty's question, we have done experiments, and it is indeed so. The bullet is more lethal, while the arrow is less lethal. Therefore, if the battle goes on for a long time, we judge that Zhang Xiaobao's side has fewer arrows, and it will be disadvantageous for them to snipe. The referees had already done experiments on this problem, so when Li Longji asked, he answered, "All right, let me see how they will fight." Li Longji didn't continue to ask about the rules this time. He sat on the chair that someone brought over and asked someone to bring him tea. He drank while watching. The people on the battlefield had different thoughts. Yang Chang, the commander of the 1st Brigade at the vanguard, couldn't wait for the report from the scouts. He anxiously circled the sand table twice and gave an order. On the mountain where the smoke pillar was discovered, the artillery battalion attack. Plow that small mountain for me. After the bombardment, my 1st regiment will go up and occupy the high ground. Zhang Xiaobao's regiment was hiding in the 1st battalion at the front, which was the mountain where the smoke pillar was lit. The commander's surname was Sure, and his name was Chun Jinxiang. Chun also had a sand table in front of him. After lighting his cigarette, he arranged his own battalion according to what he had learned before. Order all members of my battalion to enter the tunnel and prepare to endure the enemy's artillery fire. When the enemy is done, continue to hide. When we see the enemy's ground troops coming up and entering the range, then give them a good beating. The messenger immediately ran out to report. After a while, he ran back and said to Chun, Jinxiang, Sir, the enemy's artillery shells have already landed. The various traps that we have placed in front of us have been determined to be almost completely destroyed. Our scouts at the front have discovered that the enemy has about a regiment of soldiers following behind the artillery fire and quickly charging towards the mountain where we are. Chun nodded. He looked at the sand table and shook his head helplessly. That idiot, actually using artillery to open a path. What's the rush? If it were me, I would wait and slowly grind them down. They have such a good weapon, but they still have to attack. The messenger pouted and muttered, they have such a good weapon, but they still don't attack. What do you know? Ask the referees. How did the enemy charge? Chun gave another order. The referees determined that without prior request, the enemy's 1st Regiment is running and charging. The bullets are already loaded and ready to attack the target that suddenly appears. The messenger ran back and forth and answered. Distance, Chun asked again. The artillery fire has already passed. The 1st Regiment is about 300 steps away from our front line and is still quickly approaching, the messenger replied. At this time, there was not only one messenger, but two. The situation on the battlefield was constantly changing, so the speed of information transmission had to be fast. Chun nodded. Order. When the enemy is 30 steps away from the first line, throw out spears from the trenches. The second line, after 30 meters, use bows and arrows to attack the trenches. The third line, soldiers in the trenches, prepare to become the first line at any time. The fourth line to the trenches, continue to hide. Understood. All lines of defense have received the order. Report, our 1st and 2nd trenches are engaged in battle. The referees determined that because the enemy's attack formation is too dense, the front line has suffered heavy losses. Report, the enemy has temporarily stopped attacking and laid down on the ground. They have begun to shoot at our first line of trenches and throw grenades. Our side has begun to suffer casualties. Order, the first line of troops quietly retreat from the tunnel beside the trenches. As they retreat, throw spears without aiming and meet up with the second line of troops. Chun stood beside the sand table and gave the order. Soon, the enemy's regiment felt that the enemy's attack strength had weakened and gradually disappeared. If they had not just fought, they would have thought that there was no one on the battlefield. The regiment commander of this regiment was called Kong Lu. At this moment, he was standing in the room. He was not happy at all when the messenger came to say that the enemy's attack had disappeared. Instead, he was very angry. His regiment had more than 1,500 people. Along the way, they had been in front of the artillery fire, while they were at the back. He thought that it would be easy for them to go up. Under normal circumstances, if you had already lit up the smoke column, how could you still stay on the mountain? You clearly knew that the difference in weapons was too great, so you should have used your fastest speed to retreat after sending the message. In the end, the artillery fire was pushed over first, and his side followed behind. Why did the referees determine that his side had lost more than 100 people in just one exchange? The explanation given was that the people in front of his side had been attacked by arrows and spears. How was that possible? In the end, he did not need to ask. The messenger said that the people in front had sent back information that the enemy's people were hiding in a hole that they had dug. At a distance of 30 steps, his side had been caught off guard. Kong Lu patted his chest. More than 100 people had been defeated just like that. The enemy probably did not suffer any heavy losses. The battle was too cowardly. His side had the most advanced weapons. Send a message to the brigade headquarters. Say that our regiment has been stubbornly attacked by the enemy. We can't determine the exact situation of the enemy, so temporarily stop the attack. In addition, the enemy has a deep hole to hide in. As for the artillery fire, the casualties are not heavy. We can also organize an attack on the spot. Over. This time, Kong Lu was obedient. Just now, he thought that he could easily occupy this hill and wait for the next order. Who knew that the enemy was completely different from what he had imagined? The commander of the 1st Brigade, Yang Chang, quickly received Kong Lu's message. He was so angry that he slammed the small table beside him. Trash, cover the enemy with the artillery fire. You actually scared them in one exchange. What's there to be afraid of with more than 100 people dead? Charge, this is good. They have made the right choice. Order, the 1st Regiment to charge at all costs. Fire your guns and charge. I don't believe that they can stop our attack. Yang Chang did not care about Kong Lu's report that they would temporarily retreat and discuss before attacking. He gave the order to continue the attack. Kong Lu received the order, thought about it, and learned to be smart. My regiment will attack in groups. His regiment immediately showed the formation of waves on the sand table. Report, the enemy is attacking in groups. They are charging towards our position again. The messenger reported to Shi Chun. Again? All right, I'll let them know today that in close quarters, long guns are not that useful other than pistols and submachine guns. Men, pass down my order. When the enemy's 1st group enters the trench, the 2nd row of trenches will fire smoke arrows into the 1st row of trenches. Large saber squad. Charge out from both sides with wet cloths on your faces. Enter the 1st row from both sides and kill them. Shi Chun appeared very confident at this time. He was confident that he could beat the enemy down again. The referee's decision was, Kong Lu's 1st Battalion's 1st group of more than 150 people kept firing as they jogged forward. They did not encounter any attacks even when they reached the trench. Then they looked down and saw that there was no one in the trench. They all jumped down, intending to use the trench as their own trench and then set up a defensive line. But as soon as they jumped down, they realized that there was a problem. The height was different. When they were watching the enemy fight, they were able to expose their upper bodies. But when they jumped down, why were they directly above their heads? When Li Longji heard the referees narrate the situation to him like a story, he was puzzled and asked, "What's going on?" Because Shi Chun's group was standing on a stool, they appeared to be very high. That's why the referees decided that after the enemy's group jumped in, they would not be able to climb back up immediately. The referees explained to Li Longji. That works too? What's the situation now? Li Longji's eyes widened. Who came up with this idea? As expected of the logistics team, Xiao Bao's sinister style could be found in this. Your Majesty, the current situation is that the enemy's 2nd trench is firing smoke arrows into the 1st trench. The top of the 1st trench is already filled with smoke. The 2nd attacking group has also jumped into the trench, while the 3rd group is still approaching. The 2 defending groups are wielding large sabers as they slash their way from the 2 sides of the 1st trench to the center. The referees took into consideration that the 1st group jumped into a trench that was too high and lacked morale. On the other hand, due to the smoke, their eyes and breathing were affected. In the end, the attacking group did not even use their bayonets, so they were not a match for the defending group at all. The referees decided that the ratio of casualties was 20-1. This was because the 1st group that came into contact with the 1st group was not all of the attacking group. Instead, the referees were more familiar with the terrain. The referees continued to explain the situation to Li Longji. Li Longji frowned and asked in disbelief, "The ratio of casualties is that high?" "Yes. One is due to familiarity with the terrain, one is due to psychological changes, one is due to the smoke, and one is due to weapons not being suitable for close combat. This is the ratio given by the referees." "All right, I understand. Continue." Li Longji fell silent and fell into deep thought. The 2 armies had just met, but the one with superior weapons was defeated by the other. If the great Tang's army could do this, how could they invade the other side? Oh, did they use military force to help the other side develop? Kong Lu was also angry. Attack, attack, this is great. Send out orders and report that the attack was blocked. Order all troops to stop attacking and slowly retreat. Fire at the smoke and don't let the other side rush over. Open up a distance and ask the referees, how did my men fight? Why is there no specific information sent back? Reporting Lord Kong, the referees said that because the troops at the front were unable to transmit any information, they did not send back any specific information. However, the third group heard the battle cries, and the two groups at the front of our army should be engaging in close combat with the other side. The messenger gave this answer. Kong Lu said angrily, what I want to know is, why can't my men transmit any information? Don't tell me they don't know how to escape? Can't they just run back? Are they stupid enough to use guns without bayonets to engage in close combat with the other side? Lord Kong, you have two choices. The first is to continue sending people to investigate. The second is for you to hand over command and go to the center of the sand table to investigate. The messenger said these words again. These words had become the most common thing they said in the past few days. If I don't hand it over, fine. Send a message to the brigade headquarters. Tell them that our attack has been blocked. The two groups at the front are unsure whether they are dead or alive. The enemy's first trench is filled with smoke, and they are unable to continue attacking. Tell them to retreat and rest. Kong Lu was also going all out. Even if the brigade headquarters ordered them to attack, they could not continue. These were his brothers. How could they just send in wave after wave? In the end, they did not even know how many people the other side had. Chapter 1003. When Yang Chang received the news from the assault regiment, he angrily smashed the cup. They were beaten down again? The first time, more than 100 people died. This time, more than 300 people won't be able to come back? We are the great Tang's hot weapons army, and they are the native cold weapons army. Who can tell me? How do they end up like this? You know, right? They don't have cannons or radios. They have to expend a lot of effort just to send message, and they might not even be able to send the message back. I admit that Wang Wan is good at fighting, but she can't be using radios to command, right? Our soldiers rushed up and were beaten down. We should at least know the reason, right? But now we don't even know the reason. Yang Chang didn't know what to say. His side had fought too badly. Although the deaths of his soldiers were all fake, the judging panel's judgment was based on the situation closest to reality. On his side, other than the hot air balloon troops that were brought down by the enemy at the beginning, his brigade was the first to encounter the enemy. Before understanding the enemy's situation, he had already lost so many people. Once the military selection was over, shouldn't his current position be changed? My lord, you smashed a cup. When the time comes, you will have to compensate. Moreover, the judging panel will give you an evaluation of not being calm. You must consider this carefully. The messenger kindly reminded him that the military selection was held especially for Wang Wan, but at the same time, it was a test for the generals of the court. It tested their performance during command, their ability to judge the situation on the battlefield, their ability to coordinate, and their ability to deduce battle tactics. All of these were included in this test. Compensate, compensate. Who can tell me what's going on? I'll compensate him with the money for 100 cups. If I fail this military selection and get demoted, how will I face my wife and children when I get home? Will I tell them that their man and father aren't good at anything normally, but once they encounter a real situation, they will be exposed? Then I might as well just die. This was the first thing that came to Yang Chang's mind. A few days ago, he heard that the emperor went to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's room. He was very happy and felt that his side's weapons were more advanced. At the same time, no one really died. He even treated the soldiers as data. Now, he finally realized that it was not like that. If he did not command well, his position would be changed after the martial arts examination. He believed that if any of the generals on the sand table retreated at the last minute, the emperor would kill them before the martial arts examination was over. Because if you could shrink back on the sand table, there was no need to mention the real world. The moment you chose to shrink back, you would be committing a capital crime, even if it wasn't a real battlefield. Yang Chang was angry for a while, but he finally calmed down. This was because the referees had already warned him twice. If he could not continue to command, he could choose to hand over his power. Even if in theory generals could be so agitated on the battlefield, the emperor could not stand it. Li Longji was also not happy. This battle was fought by them. They had guns and cannons, but in the end they were obstructed at every step. Look at Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. While waiting for news from the army, they could still deal with the business at home. They could still send messages to Xiao Bei and the others every day and chat with them. However, the results were as good as they should have been. What if they were also equipped with radio stations? He reckoned that they would send out orders one after another, and they would have started a fierce offensive long ago. A brigade was blocked in the Fuyang area by a regiment with slightly more people. Just wait for a while, and they will figure out where your main force is. A regiment cannot take down the high ground occupied by a battalion. At the beginning, you should be more careful and send people to the back of the mountain. So what if the distance is longer? Do you have to take the high ground today? Li Longji looked at the situation in the Fuyang area on the sand table and criticized unhappily. Empress Wang was also looking at it. When she heard the emperor say this, she said, "Your Majesty, you can't say that. You are looking at the sand table. How can Yang Chang's brigade and Kong Lu's regiment know what is going on? You have to consider that the side representing Tang is made up of current generals. They have advanced weapons, smooth communication, and elite soldiers. But you have to think about it. Who are their opponents? They are not indigenous generals. The generals they are fighting are all commanders specially trained by the Zhang family and Wang family. For example, Shi Chun, Shi Jinxiang, who is guarding the mountain, has been learning from Cuckoo for at least 8 years. He was even sent to Tubo to personally command the battlefield. Wu Huifei was also angry just now. The Tang army was too cowardly. Now that she heard Empress Wang's words, she understood. She said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, Sister Empress is right. The opponents the Tang generals are facing are not ordinary people. It is inconceivable that Wang Wan's team could not achieve such a result. What are they learning?" This was the way the great Tang army used their weapons. Their understanding of these weapons far surpassed the great Tang generals. Just look at how Shi Chun dug the trenches, and how he calculated the advantages and disadvantages of the enemy's weapons in the trenches. Also, why was Wang Yi able to bring down the hot air balloons? That's because he is in charge of the aerial troops in Cuckoo's house when they are practicing on the sand table. How can he not understand? Hearing the words of the two, Li Longji blinked and nodded vigorously. Yes, it's like that. The opponents the Tang army is facing are not the natives, but the most elite commanders of our great Tang. Rather than saying that they are fighting the natives, it would be more accurate to say that the two commanders of our great Tang are using different weapons to practice. However, when our great Tang generals command the army, they are always thinking of fighting the natives. Thus, when that regiment charged, they acted as though there was nothing wrong with it and continued to charge up the mountain. After saying this, Li Longji sighed. Since that was the case, there was nothing more to say. He could only wait for the generals to come to their senses and figure out what kind of opponent they were facing. Those who were unable to react in time would wait for the martial selection to end before readjusting their positions. After all, they were no longer suited to continue being generals. Otherwise, they would cause the deaths of the outstanding soldiers of the Great Tang. Let's see how the 1st Brigade of the Vanguard will fight. I reckon that after a while, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will be able to figure out where Zhang Shogui's main vanguard force is. Li Longji sat back down, picked up his teacup, and slowly sipped his tea. Still guarding the mountain, Shi Chun listened to the reports from the scouts he had sent out. After thinking for a while, he ordered, "Light the smoke signals and tell the main force that the enemy we are facing is not the main force of the vanguard." The smoke signals quickly began to rise from the mountain. Following a certain pattern, they began to rise into the air one after another. When they reached a certain distance, small groups of scouts scattered in various places would light the smoke signals in accordance with the situation in front of them. Along the way, the speed was not slow at all. Furthermore, the smoke was rising from all over the place, making it impossible for the enemy to determine who the smoke was for, nor what the message was for. The only thing they knew was that wherever the smoke was, there would definitely be people from the other side. As for how many people there were, they did not know. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still waiting for news from the front, especially from Fuyang. The true first battle would begin here. If they could not understand the situation of the enemy and complete the mission of containing them, then the situation would become very grim. Reporting. News from Fuyang. Fuyang is not part of the main vanguard force. Based on the number of people, it should be a brigade. Under the expectations of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the messenger finally entered the room and said the words that the two of them wanted to hear the most. Not the main force. Based on Zhang Shogui's calculations, his main force should be on the other side and not behind Fuyang. What is he planning to do? Zhang Xiaobao felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. As long as they found the main force of the enemy vanguard, everything would be easy to deal with. Whether it was finding an opportunity to annihilate them or avoiding them, anything was fine. What else could it be? He wants to occupy Mount Huangshan. He likes to take risks and is an opportunist. If he really does occupy Mount Huangshan, then when we make a move, we will have to worry about him behind us. He might even be planning to lure our main force to Mount Huangshan. When the time comes, he will let me see the power of the artillery network formed by the mountainous terrain. Humph. Wang Wan's eyes were fixed on the model of Mount Huangshan. Give the order. Our main force is to march toward Mount Huangshan. Xiaobao, your logistics team is to follow them. Why are the logistics team moving so quickly? Pass down my order. The logistics team is to fight on their own and raise the flag of our regular army. The logistics team southeast of Mount Huangshan is to be careful of the main force of the enemy vanguard. If they discover them, they are to delay them as much as possible. The other logistics team near Fuyang is to cooperate with our logistics team and eliminate the 1st Brigade as much as possible. Also, let them know that our main force is nearby. Zhang Xiaobao directly moved the logistics team to the front as the main force. In truth, his goal was very simple. He wanted to use this batch of people to exchange for the enemy's ammunition consumption. In this way, Wang Wan's main force was preserved. Other than the sniper battalion that was probably gone, the rest were still there, waiting for an opportunity to deal a heavy blow to the enemy. Pass down my order to the main force of the vanguard. Our 1st Brigade is temporarily unable to take Fuyang and is currently surrounding it. We suspect that the enemy's main force is hiding nearby. The enemy is defending with all their might. Facing our artillery fire, they are not retreating a single step. Yang Chang drank 2 large bowls of cold water. His stomach was cold, so he used a wet towel to wipe his face. After feeling much more awake, he sent a message to the vanguard. Following which, he looked at the sand table and squinted his eyes. He said to the messenger, "Pass down my order. Our artillery unit continued to bombard the enemy at Highland 535. When the messenger went to pass down the order, Yang Chang said angrily, "I don't believe that your trench can withstand 1 attack and can withstand 2 or 3 more. If I don't shoot you down, you will always be like a nail nailed to this place. How can my 1st Brigade not be able to advance? Also, tell Kong Lu to continue to attack. Even if there is only 1 person left, he must occupy Highland 535. When Kong Lu received the order, he gritted his teeth and scolded, "Mother ***, there are still 2 groups in front of me whose fate is unknown. If you continue to bombard them, What are they going to do? Men, organize the troops for me. Follow the cannon fire and charge. Reporting. The enemy is continuing to bombard us with artillery fire. Behind them, the attacking troops are once again in a strong offensive formation. When the enemy was firing, Shi Chun received the news. Shi Chun panted heavily and nodded slowly. They are playing hard with me. Fine, I will give you a battalion. When the time comes, I will die for my country. Do you really think I am a native? Even if I die, I will bite off a piece of meat from you. Pass down my order. Give up the first and second lines of defense. Soldiers, retreat to the back of the fourth line of defense and build fortifications there. As for the third line of defense, hand over the spears and bows to the soldiers at the fourth line of defense. The third line of defense is not to engage in long-range attacks. Lie down and wait for the enemy to come up. When the enemy arrives, we will fight them head-on. Shi Chun clearly knew that this was a sand table, but he still stared until his eyes turned red. This was a habit. During normal training, they had to be completely focused. Otherwise, Wang Wan would be very disappointed. The result of disappointing Wang Wan was that Zhang Xiaobao would be angry. The result was needless to say. He would be kicked out of the group. Sir, are you okay? It is just a sand table. Don't be like this. I will get you a doctor. The messenger was frightened by Shi Chun's focus and asked softly. Shi Chun waved his hand. It's fine. What can happen to me? I'm an elite among commanders. My mission is to command people to kill others or let my people die. If I'm the only one left, I won't be captured alive. I know this is a sand table. When I was fighting in Tibet, I also looked at sand tables and maps when I commanded. However, every command I gave decided the happiness of many people. I did not rush to the front lines. Of course, if there is a need, I will rush to the front lines. Therefore, in my eyes, the sand table is the truest reflection of life. The messenger saluted. Sir Shi, you are a good general. There is no good or bad in a general. There is only victory and defeat. Pass down my order again. Light the smoke signal. Tell the 2nd Battalion to ignore my 1st Battalion and follow the plan. Wei Wei shook her head and gave another order. Yes, pass down the order. Light the smoke signal. The messenger also started to join in and treated himself as a real messenger. The cannonballs of the artillery battalion once again rained down on Shi Chun's position. The messengers came to report the casualties on their side from time to time. These were the rough estimates given by the adjudicators. Shi Chun listened quietly, but his expression did not change. It was as if the people who died were not his soldiers. This was because he knew that if his emotions fluctuated too much, more of his brothers would die. Therefore, he endured and tried his best not to think about who had died. Kong Lu ordered the troops to charge forward and followed the artillery fire. This time, they did not encounter any counterattacks. However, when the troops in front of them reached the first trench, they sent back a piece of news that he did not want to believe. Reporting, the soldiers of the 1st Squad and 2nd Squad of our 1st Battalion have been discovered. The trench they are in is higher than the height of the human body. When our artillery fell, they were engaged in hand-to-hand combat with approximately 2 squads of the enemy. The 2 small groups of the enemy were completely annihilated. Our 2 large groups of more than 300 people have survived. Most of the survivors are injured. Some were cut by the enemy's swords, and some were hit by our artillery fire. The messenger reported to Kong Lu. Understood. Continue to attack. This time, Kong Lu did not smash anything. He waited for the messenger to pass down the order. However, he did not know why, but tears suddenly gushed out of his eyes. Like a wrong child, he muttered to himself, "Why are the shots so accurate this time?" They died under their own artillery shells. 2 small groups for 2 large groups of mine. On the real battlefield, how can the rest of my attacking troops fight? How much of our morale will be affected? I admit that the Tang soldiers can fight to the death and not retreat, but they can't die like this. The model changes and data summarization in the center of the sand table were not affected by the emotions of the two generals. They were still going on. After surviving this round of artillery fire, when the enemy came to the trench of the third line of defense, the soldiers of Shi Chun's third line of defense, who were still alive, picked up machetes and wooden spears. They jumped out and followed the enemies who already had bayonets on their spears, starting a desperate hand-to-hand battle. At such a close distance, cold weapons finally played their role. The soldiers of the fourth line of defense, who were still alive, did not stop shooting arrows and throwing spears. The arrows and spears drew an arc, flying over the heads of their own people and landing on the soldiers behind the enemy. The troops of the first and second line of defense moved forward through the trench and retake the first and second line of defense. Set up camp on the spot. Reserve troops, get ready. Shi Chun listened to the messenger run over from time to time to report the death count of his side. His expression was still calm, giving people the feeling that he was neither happy nor worried. Thus, in the center of the sand table, the referee continued to carry out the plan according to the rules they had previously agreed upon. Moreover, the model on the sand table was constantly moving. Although it could not be said to be too specific, the general idea could be seen. The soldiers of the first and second trenches, who had retreated from the front and moved forward again, would fight with the soldiers of the first and second trenches, who had jumped down to advance through the trenches. Only when Shi Chun also threw in the reserve troops did they manage to push back a regiment of the enemy. This battle began late at night. The referee decided that it was late, and the great Tang side withdrew. Shi Chun also began to count the number of soldiers. A battalion of nearly 800 people had fought all day, but only 300 or so were left. Including those who were injured and did not leave the battlefield, there were only around 300 people left. I admit that the artillery of my great Tang is truly formidable, but I have to say that you used the wrong weapon. It's a pity to give you such advanced weapons. After knowing the number of people left, Shi Chun closed his eyes in a daze for a while. When he opened them again, his gaze seemed to penetrate the walls of the room and looked at the room where the great Tang general was. Kong Lu and Shi Chun felt different. The death count was out. The referee said that their regiment of more than 1,500 people had less than 600 people left after the battle, and the position was still in the hands of the enemy. Why? Who do you blame? I said that I wouldn't charge, but the people behind told me to charge. I charged, and it ended up like this? At this time, Shi Chun had already walked to the room where Yang Chang was. He was in the same army, so he could come and take a look because there was a meeting to be held. Yang Chang's face was gloomy. He did not expect the battle to be so bitter, but he knew that the referee's judgment was close to the truth. Perhaps if it had been a real battle, his side would have suffered even greater losses. At this time, he finally said the most correct words. Because we were all wrong. Our opponents weren't the King natives at all. We were facing military officers that Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao's families had been training in batches for more than 10 years. Even the ones who had studied for the least amount of time were still many years older than us. Every time a new weapon is made, they are the first to use it and then gradually spread it to the entire army. If it is a very powerful weapon, only a small number of elite troops can use it, and the inspection is very strict. Our opponents are them. They have studied the advantages and disadvantages of the various arms the most. Brothers, this is a real battle. They are not playing with us. If we can't win this time, let's go home and farm together. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao, seeing that we are colleagues, I think they can ask the Sinong Temple to give us some good seeds. I believe the output will be very high. Now, there are only two choices. One is to be more serious and not have the mentality of a game. They have never thought of this. Look at the people guarding the mountain. How often do they transfer and allocate troops? Look at us. We don't have the quick change of command on the battlefield. If you still think this is a sand table simulation, when my brigade is gone, let's get together and think about where to farm. We can resign ourselves. We don't have to wait for His Majesty to personally say so." When the generals heard Yang Chang's words, they all lowered their heads. They had to admit that they had thought too simply of this martial arts examination. They had thought that it was just a game for Wang Wan, but now they realized that it was also a test for themselves. Fight the natives, fight the natives. T natives. How could the natives play tactics to such an extent? Where were the natives from? It looked like they had been more careful. They were not afraid of losing, but they were afraid of losing without knowing why. That way, His Majesty would be very angry. Logically speaking, Li Longji should be sleepy at this time, but he was still very energetic. He looked at the sand table, nodding and shaking his head. He said, "It's 4-1, and the battle is still going on. Tonight, many people will not be able to sleep. Cuckoo and Xiaobao are indeed powerful." Wu Huifei was not sleepy. She hoped that Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao would lose, although their status would not be affected by winning or losing, and she also admitted that she could not win against them. She still hoped that they would lose. In the end, any of the generals that they casually sent out to command the battle could make absolutely brilliant tactical cooperation. Their main forces had not even moved yet, and the general in charge of the main forces was someone who had studied for more than 10 years. Therefore, she said with jealousy, if all the generals of the Tang Empire were replaced by the generals of Cuckoo and Xiaobao, they would definitely be more powerful than they are now. Cuckoo and Xiaobao are indeed powerful, but what is truly powerful is not the ability that they have shown, but the talent that they have cultivated from a long time ago. Sister, don't you think so? Wu Huifei asked Empress Wang. Empress Wang glanced at Wu Huifei unhappily. She was not stupid. How could she not understand the meaning of the words? But she still nodded. Yes, my adopted daughter Cuckoo is powerful, but they have never actively used this ability to attack the people of the Tang Empire, unless others want to make trouble for them. Every time they make trouble for them, they will first retreat, but some people think that they are afraid and want a yard when given an inch. The result is needless to say. My daughter Li Jun is also by their side, and now she is running around with Xiaobei. Xiaobei, this crazy girl, always does things that people can't imagine. I'm really afraid that she will teach my daughter Panner to be like her. How much will I have to worry about her in the future? What do you think Xiaobei has been doing all day? She only knows how to play tricks. A child, like an adult, knows how to scheme. It's not good. Wu Huifei listened to Empress Wang's words and became even more jealous of Wang Wan. How could Empress Wang speak like this in the past? What did she mean that Xiaobei was not good? Was she bluffing? It was true that Xiaobei could cause trouble, but he knew when to be obedient and when to be cute. Wasn't she saying that she played tricks like a child? If Cuckoo had not taken you away and protected you, would you still be sitting on the Empress's seat now? Li Longji also heard that his two women were scheming against each other again. Why bother? After thinking about it, he decided to smooth things over. Speaking of Xiaobei, I still don't know about their tax exemption. Seeing that it's late, I don't know if they are asleep. Send a message. This time, use my intelligence network to ask them. Li Longji was not just saying this casually. He found someone, said a few words, and the message was sent out. Xiaobei was about to go crazy from playing. How could she think about sleeping? The last time she came, there was a flood, so she took a group of children to Old Willow Village to seek refuge. Now that the children had gone back, those who were supposed to go to school went to school, and those who were supposed to be naughty were naughty. Xiaobei did not have to be as busy as last time. The market, which should have been closed, continued because of their arrival. During the day, there was a group of people, and, at night, when they heard the news, they quickly gathered some goods and sent them to another group of people outside the village. The methane pool had just started to be dug, and the efficiency was already very high. During the day, they started to work at night. However, there was no methane to light the fire, so the people in the market made their own torches to illuminate the market. Xiaobei liked bustling places the most. When she saw that there was a night market at night, she ate too much at noon and did not eat dinner. She followed a group of village children to class for 2 hours and then began to play after school. When it was dark, She took a group of people to the market. This time, the market was not like the one during the day, where there were all kinds of people. Instead, it was specially checked, and the people selling things were very cheap. They were so cheap that they were lower than the cost of production. They were not doing it to make money, but to see Xiao Bei and the others. Many people believe that if you had a kind heart, then you would be lucky when you saw Xiao Bei and the others. If you had a guilty conscience, the moment you saw Xiao Bei and the others was the moment of bad luck. It was just like the bridge that led to the Zhang family and Wang family in Sanshui County. If you wanted to swear, you had to stand on the railing above. If you were sincere, you would be very stable unless there was a strong wind. But if you were not, you would fall. It was very accurate and had never been wrong. It was said that there was once a person who swore while riding on the railing. His hands were tightly grasping the railing, thinking that he would not fall. In the end, after he said the oath, he fainted because it was false. If it were not for the people in charge of rescuing him in the river, he would have drowned. The people who came to set up the stall at night had this thought. They did not think that they were bad people. Therefore, even if they were strictly checked, they stood there very obediently and waited. If anyone dared to say something like, "Why don't you believe me?" they probably did not need to do anything. Someone else would take them away first. You're afraid of being checked? What are you thinking? Therefore, when Xiao Bei strolled around the night market, there were obviously not as many guards around him as during the day. After the inspection, the knife sellers were not allowed, the ironware sellers were not allowed, and the candy sellers were searched first. Then they carefully looked at the candy and asked him to eat it first. Then they found a doctor to examine it. It was so strict, but everyone felt that it was right. Those were Xiao Bei and the others. They absolutely could not allow anything to happen to them. How much is this? Xiao Bei led a group of children to a girl's stall selling jewelry and asked. No, it's free. The girl shrank her neck in fear, but she wanted to see Xiao Bei, so she raised her head, giving people an awkward feeling. Why is it free? Do you do charity too? Xiao Bei asked in surprise. What charity? Have you seen people give out jewelry for charity? Ah, when you see people so poor that they can't afford jewelry, you give them a set? Little Yuan said from the side. Little Yuan, you're going against me today, right? Sister, why don't your jewelry cost money? Xiao Bei pouted at Little Yuan and turned back to ask the girl selling jewelry with a smile. The girl hesitated for a while before saying in a low voice, I want you to prove to me that our family didn't take other people's gold. No matter how much they took other than the normal consumption, we didn't steal their gold. That's why I'm here. I dare to face you directly. I'm an honest person. My family did not do anything wrong. When they sent the gold to make jewelry, they insisted that my family stole it. Then, they spread the news everywhere in the village. Xiao Bei was taken aback. Ah, steal gold? Your family makes jewelry? Your skills are not bad. Look at this swallow. The golden thread is very thin, but it's very uniform. Is it gold, Little Yuan? How would I know? Whether it's gold or not needs to be tested. Can you tell? And there's even a question of purity. Even if you throw it into water to calculate how much water comes out, it won't work. Unless it's a big piece of jewelry. It's so small, how can you tell? Little Yuan held the swallow hairpin and gestured at Xiao Bei's head as she said, Someone who knows about gold. Come here and let me see. Xiao Bei turned around and asked the person following him. Someone really came out. It was an old man who was also from the inner courtyard. Everyone in the family specialized in making jewelry for the master. He took the hairpin, weighed it on the back of his hand, and shook his head. It's not pure. It's a little too light. How do you know? Xiao Bei asked curiously. Having dealt with gold for a lifetime, I naturally know. I touch it every day, hit it every day, and measure it every day. The old man's answer was very straightforward. Xiao Bei understood. This was his experience. He asked the girl selling jewelry, Is it like this? The girl nodded repeatedly. Yes, this is only 70% gold. The rest is copper. This one is normally sold for 700 copper coins, but you can take it directly. As long as you help me prove it, all the things in my stall are yours." Xiao Bei thought for a moment and pulled Little Yuan and a few others together to whisper again. After a while, he returned and said to the girl, "All right, I'll take all the jewelry you want." "All right, I'll take all the jewelry you're displaying now. I'll ask about you and see if I can help you prove it. Of course, if you're lying, I'll know. I'm very good." "Really? Thank you, thank you. Take them all. Add them together. Add them together, and it's more than 50 strings of coins. I know because I'm very smart." Xiao Bei helped her name the price of a pile of jewelry. The girl was dumbfounded and asked in disbelief, "How do you know?" "I'm the most powerful Xiao Bei in the world. No one can lie in front of me, so I naturally know." Xiao Bei puffed out his chest and looked as though he was really very powerful. In fact, she only knew about it after asking the old man who made jewelry for her family. He could immediately estimate the price after touching it and looking at the workmanship. Without this ability, he wouldn't be able to do business in the Zhang family and Wang family's inner courtyard. The girl smiled. "It's like this. My family has been making jewelry for others for generations. Later, it was passed down to my father's generation. My father's craftsmanship isn't comparable to my grandfather's, but he is very serious about it. One day, someone came over and took a small piece of gold. After we weighed it, we began to make jewelry for them. It was a pair of bracelets. They didn't want any patterns on them. They just wanted us to leave our family's mark on them. After they took it back, they came back after a short while. They said that the weight was wrong and that there was less gold. However, it's impossible for my family to steal their gold, right? I don't know about that. Didn't they say that there's a natural loss when it melts? Did they count this in?" Xiao Bei didn't give her proof and instead asked a question. "Forget it. They said that it would be missing 0, 2 to 0, 5 grams. Their bracelets were 30 grams, and they even wanted my family's mark on them. They didn't see any scratches from a knife. However, they took it back and got us to weigh it. When we weighed it, we realized that 3 grams were missing. How is that possible? My family has been doing this for generations. It's impossible for us to consume so much gold. However, the mark was still there. They wanted to file a lawsuit and wanted us to compensate. They even said that they wouldn't let my family continue doing this business. Boo-hoo." As the girl spoke, she started crying. It was heartbreaking to hear. Xiao Bei was also confused. "Then why are 3 grams missing? It's fine if it's 1 gram missing, right? But your family's mark is still there. Can't you tell which part of the bracelets was scraped off?" Yes, my father admitted that he made the bracelets, but he couldn't explain why. Now my father is in prison. They said that they won't let my father out if they can't figure it out. We have to compensate them. Actually, it's nothing much. My family has some assets too. My family even sponsored a school. It's just that it's on our side. We don't care about a few grams of gold. But if our reputation is ruined, what will we do in the future? Will our family still be able to survive in the village?" The girl started crying again. Xiao Bei turned solemn as he asked, "What did your family sponsor the school for? How many people did you sponsor?" "My family is in charge of the school for 70 people, including their food, clothing, accommodation, and houses. Zhengzheng Construction gave us free teaching houses. They are bungalows, 12 of them. There's also a huge yard in front. I also go to school there. The teacher only taught me in the past. Later, he found 2 more students and then separated them. Our family is actually not bad. We have some money, but it wasn't easy for our family to be looked up to. Now that something like this happened, we can't afford to lose face." The girl was crying and talking helplessly. Xiao Bei was in a dilemma. He looked at Xiao Yuan, who was at a loss as well. Xiao Hai stood up at this moment. "Logically speaking, since your family wants a reputation and doesn't lack money, you naturally wouldn't care about 3 grams of gold. You just said that after they took the bracelets back, they said that 3 grams were missing, right? They said that it was only a short time and that they didn't find any scratches on the bracelets, right? Yes. The girl pursed her lips and nodded. Then did they weigh the bracelets when they took them back? Xiao Hai asked again. Yes. It was normal when they took the bracelets and weighed them, but there was no contract signed. There was also no evidence. At that time, I told my father to get them to write a written agreement. My father said that there were no bad people, but that was it. We got it. You don't have evidence to prove that you didn't steal their gold, but their gold was indeed missing. Your family also admits that the mark was correct, right? Xiao Hai asked again. The girl kept nodding. Yes, that's right. My family's gold is different from the others. You're a fake. Unless you're very familiar with my family, you can't do it. There's a small part that's missing a little bit. Xiao Hai was also confused. He pulled his sister, Xiao Bei, and the others together to discuss again. This was a very small, but very big problem. It involved not only money, but also reputation. In the end, the discussion was fruitless. This matter was too difficult for the 9 of them. Xiao Bei was both helpless and angry. Is there no way to prove it to both sides? Why don't we capture both sides and torture them? What are you talking about? Go send a message and ask Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Mother believes that no matter who is the liar, if we hand it over to Xiao Bao will know. At this moment, Jiang Wang clan walked over from behind Xiao Bei and the others and said to Xiao Bei, Yes, I'll look for my brother and sister. We'll know who's the liar soon. Xiao Bei's worship of her brother and sister had reached a blind level. When she asked someone to send the message, Li Longji's message came first. Xiao Bei took a look at it. I'm not free. Why are you asking so many questions? I'm worried. The message was sent to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Wan looked at it and did not even let Zhang Xiaobao see it. She said directly, send a message to Xiao Bei. Capture the person who requested to make the jewelry. He's not working in the Ministry of Works, but he knows how to do chemistry. He doesn't want a pattern on the bracelet, and he wants someone to put a mark on it. His motive is not pure. Capture him and send him to the Ministry of Works. He can be considered a talent. If we teach him well, he might be able to make something better. He's capable, but he's not using it in the right way. Xiao Bao, don't you think so? What do you mean it's not? I don't even know what's going on. Zhang Xiaobao snatched a piece of paper and looked at it. He smiled. Send him to the Ministry of Works Smelting Department. Give me a smelting formula within 3 months, and I'll consider him innocent. Otherwise, if Xiao Bei catches him, he will play with him in prison. Chapter 1004. The news of Xiao Bei's message quickly reached Li Longji's ears. Just as Zhang Xiaobao placed the letter to the side, Li Longji snatched it over and read it from top to bottom. She didn't tell me anything about the tax exemption. She actually cheated others by 3 grams of gold. This merchant's character isn't good. Li Longji was disappointed. He thought that Xiao Bei was replying to his question, but it turned out that she was asking for his help. Shaking his head, he commented, how can she cheat others by taking 3 grams of gold? The person who requested the bracelet to eat the gold in the bracelet with a chemical solution. She can be considered a talent, but she didn't use it in the right place. What's the use of cheating 3 grams of gold? If I were her, I would ask for a job from the Ministry of Works. Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't think that there was a problem with the merchant who made the bracelet. After all, this was Great Tang, and merchants couldn't do whatever they wanted just because they were rich. Wang Wan thought the same as well. If the merchants of Great Tang were to have a high status, they wouldn't be so obedient. They would provide the funds for the Chaoyang operation, and they would fork out the money to build the roads. They just wanted to gain recognition and use money to exchange for inner pleasures. This could be considered as a form of business. With such thoughts in mind, Wang Wan nodded in agreement. That's right. I hate being cheated, especially by those who play petty tricks. In the future, as Great Tang's economy grows better, there will be all kinds of conflicts and problems. We have to get to the root first. Hearing that, Li Longji thought about it and agreed. If a merchant who made the bracelet stole 3 grams of gold, would he still be able to do business in the future? If he were to be sent to the authorities wouldn't treat him well. In that case, the problem lies with that person. Capture him and punish him severely. Li Longji was about to give the order. Zhang Xiaobao hurriedly stopped him. We don't have to punish him severely. We have to capture him. And on the surface, we have to let others know that he has committed a grave crime. However, it would be a pity to send him to the Ministry of Works and lock him up. Xiaobao, we do not agree. We know very well what kind of talent you want. However, if every talented person makes a mistake, the final result will not be severe punishment, but more people will make mistakes. What is this called again? Oh yes, it's called the cost of crime is too low. Li Longji raised an objection. I know, but what can you do by locking him up and throwing him into prison? Since his craftsmanship is useless, it's better to let him continue with his work, but restrict his personal freedom. Zhang Xiaobao thought about how it was like in prison. At that time, he and Cuckoo were paid to work in prison. You were paid according to how much work you did. Then, you could buy daily necessities in prison. The price is very expensive. If you have more money, you can ask the outside to send it in. Even if you don't work, you can still live a comfortable life in prison. However, if you were not given freedom, it was easy to get into fights and get injured accidentally. The goal is to let you have a way to use your skills. Otherwise, if you were to be locked up in prison, it wouldn't be beneficial to society. Zhang Xiaobao told Li Longji about this matter. After hearing it, Li Longji nodded and said, That's true. Locking a carpenter in prison and making him do manual labor isn't beneficial to our great Tang. However, we are worried that if they are as comfortable in prison as they are outside, will they continue to commit crimes after they get out? If they are caught, wouldn't it be a good thing for them to not be caught? Yes, there will be a portion of such people. They will be given a lighter sentence the first time they are caught, but the second time they are caught, their sentence will be heavier. Then, they will promote their morals and not the economy. It will make others feel that being in prison is a very shameful thing. They won't say that they have been in prison before and that they are impressive now that they are out. Don't give criminals this kind of soil. Zhang Xiaobao explained. Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao. She was implying that he still had the face to say that. You're the one who's always in prison, and you'll always be able to buy official identification. Zhang Xiaobao retorted with a look that said, What does this have to do with me? It's everyone's responsibility. I'm just a user. Li Longji looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan exchanging glances. He coughed and said, Why don't we find a place to test it out first? Maybe in your Sanshui County? My Sanshui County's prison is empty. Who would dare to cause trouble in my Sanshui County? Zhang Xiaobao asked. Yes, Sanshui County won't do. It's too special. Li Longji remembered that Sanshui County was the best county in Great Tang. Not even Lu Zhou could compare to it. The people of Sanshui County were hardworking. Naturally, their income was high as well. Their benefits were good as well. Since the neighbors were proud of being from Sanshui County, they had a good relationship with each other. There would not be any haggling between the buyers and sellers in the market. This was because if the goods sold were not good, the buyers would not have to pick them out. The sellers would deal with them themselves. Everyone in the county worked together to protect the dignity and status of Sanshui County. That's the real paradise. When will my great Tang be like Sanshui County? Li Longji was lost in his thoughts as he muttered to himself. Zhang Xiaobao sighed. That's impossible. The smaller the place, the easier it is to govern. Great Tang, that's a dream. Sanshui County has its fair share of competition, but it's on the surface. No one dares to play tricks behind the scenes because they're afraid of me and Cuckoo. However, it can make the people of Great Tang better off than they are now. Wang Wan said, As long as Great Tang maintains its absolute ruling position, the people will protect this superiority. For example, if a citizen of Great Tang goes to Japan and is slapped in the face, Great Tang's fleet will go there and force Japan to give us a satisfactory explanation and suggestion. Then, this citizen will be willing to protect Great Tang's interests and listen to the guidance of Great Tang's officials. He will do his best because he knows where his dignity comes from. Yes, Cuckoo is right. Zhu Zan appeared at the door and said calmly, "In the past, Nunu's status was not very high. Sometimes, I couldn't take care of her, and she would be ostracized. Even if I knew, I couldn't get rid of all the people who bullied Nunu. I have my own difficulties. Later on, you guys fought. In the palace, I didn't have to deliberately protect Nunu, and no one dared to do anything to her. Now, her status is even higher. Just because you guys are afraid of bullying her, you guys brought your soldiers over." Zhu Zan had been listening outside for a while. The more he listened, the more emotional he felt. Listening to the words of the emperor and the minister, they were all trying to think of a solution for Great Tang. Princess Jincheng looked at Zhu Zan very gently and leaned her body against him. Her man could say such words. It meant that he wouldn't think of creating a new Tubo royal family. In the future, there wouldn't be a war. The lives of the people would be good, and so would she. At the same time, she also understood why Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had such a high status in Great Tang. It wasn't just because one of them could fight and the other could handle economic matters. Also, they could chat with their emperor brother and come up with ideas that would benefit Great Tang. In the past, Tubo didn't have such people. Li Longji saw that many people came in and didn't talk about this matter. Then let's change to Wanyan County and try it out. After that, we will promote it. Xiao, Bao, Cuckoo, the two of you continue to command the battle. I will talk to them about the future development of Tubo. After speaking, Li Longji brought the others out to look for Zhu Zan to talk about Tubo. The main reason was to talk about the problem of the cultivation of medicinal herbs. Under the special geographical environment and climate of Tubo, there were also special medicinal herbs. Zhu Zan, come sit down and talk. You will be in charge of Tubo. They still lack things, so I will send them over. There's no problem. They are all citizens of Great Tang, and their living conditions are slightly worse compared to Tubo. However, you can't always expect us to send resources for free. We have to produce. For example, the various medicinal herbs at your place. Encourage your people to cultivate them. Also, raise more cows and sheep and sell them back. If you need anything else, you can use money to buy it. It's better than directly managing people, right? Li Longji gestured for Zhu Zan to sit down and said. Zhu Zan really didn't think about this problem. He was only thinking about how to raise chickens. Zhang Xiaobao's initial plan was to raise chickens. But now that there was no war, raising chickens wasn't a disaster. Instead, it was a benefit. Highland barley wasn't as delicious as rice, and it couldn't be compared to wheat flour. Thus, he was trying to develop poultry farming. Now that he heard Li Longji's words, it seemed that he should adjust his thinking. Your Majesty, I am raising chickens now. If I change, what should the people who have chickens do? Zhu Zan asked. If it was in the past, Li Longji really couldn't think of a good idea. But now, he had learned for a long time. Thus, he didn't think much and told Zhu Zan. Those who are already raising chickens can continue to raise them. But don't raise chickens that can lay eggs. Control it. If you let Tubo raise chickens, and they really develop, the people who raise chickens will lose money. If you do this, won't your place be cold? Use snow and ice to make a few more ice houses. Then, use your own government to buy a portion of the chicken at a lower price. Don't let the people who raise chickens lose money. Set the rules and decide which part of the country to raise and which not to raise. If there is a lack of chicken, take out the frozen meat to lower the price. You can still earn a little. Zhu Zan's eyes lit up. When he looked at Li Longji, he was very surprised. Your Majesty, you are too tired. You even have to think about such a small matter? What's there to be tired about? I am idle all day now. Do I need to think about such things? It's so simple. I feel that the most tiring thing is to guess what Xiao Bao, Huan, and their younger siblings came up with. That's the hard part. Until now, I still haven't figured out why Xiaobao and the rest can still earn so much even after they're exempted from paying half of the profits. Li Longji said proudly. Zhu Zhan nodded. He felt that he was really stupid. He shouldn't have asked such a question. When others felt that they were very idle, there was still a group of people who didn't dare to relax. Night fell. As the 1st Brigade's commander, Yang Chang looked at the 535 Highland model on the sand table and said to his subordinates, "We still have to fight. If we don't take down this Highland, it will be considered a failure. We have to fight, but my 1st Brigade only has 600 people left. We don't know how many people there are on the other side of the mountain. My 600 people have been attacking for a long time." The referee said that the morale of the enemy is low. Kong Lu was worried that his brigade would continue to charge up, so he reminded himself of the difficulty in front of them. Then let the 2nd Brigade go. Yang Chang looked at the 2nd Brigade's commander. This person was called Li Gong. Li Gong nodded firmly. "I promise to complete the mission. Even if my brigade has to fight to the last man, I will personally charge up and take down 535 Highland. Okay, pass down my order. The artillery battalion will attack. The 2nd Brigade will follow." Yang Chang had no other choice but to use this tactic. Shi Chun didn't rest at all. He knew that the enemy would definitely take advantage of the night to attack. His battalion didn't plan to return alive. If they could use up all of the enemy's artillery, then the rest of his brigade would have an easier time. When the messenger reported that the enemy's artillery was covering the area, Shi Chun stood in front of the sand table. He didn't give any orders. He just watched. He had given all the orders that he needed. The only thing he could do was to wait for the referee to make the right decision. Li Gong returned to his room. The 2nd Brigade, attack. Full force. Don't wait for the enemy to appear. Advance while firing. Take it down in one go. Report. Our attack force has been blocked. The referee has determined that the death toll is more than 60 people. After Li Gong gave the order, not long after, the messenger ran in to report. Huh? Li Gong was stunned. Our army is under fire? Guns? They are natives. I know the commander isn't, but the rules say so. Why do they have guns? Sir Li, I can't tell you this. You can continue to command, or you can give up command and go to the sand table. The messenger repeated what he always said. I'm not going to look. Attack, attack. I'll know what happened after we take them down, Li Gong said angrily. However, he knew what happened before the battle started. The enemy's first line of defense had retreated when they were about to attack. They took over the trench. Then the news came back. Report, our army has taken over the enemy's first line of defense. We found that they fixed the barrels in front of their guns. They copied how he fired and loaded the bullets. They didn't aim properly. However, because our army is full force and we have more people, we suffered a lot of losses. The referee has determined that our brigade has lost 170 people. Li Gong nodded. I understand. Their guns are the guns of our 1st Brigade. It's easy to learn how to shoot. The hard part is to aim. That's why they fixed the barrels and didn't aim. In other words, when we attack, if we avoid that line, we won't be hit. It's my order to full force that harmed my brothers. Yes, the messenger replied. He's so capable. He can even take advantage of this loophole. If he didn't lead the natives but his family's protection team, would my brigade have been eaten by him? After Li Gong said that, he suddenly thought of something. Our artillery is useless? We've already fought 3 rounds. Why do they still have fortifications? The messenger ran out and hurried back after a while. Report, it's useful. Every time, our artillery can cause a lot of damage to the enemy's fortifications. However, they haven't stopped building. We've destroyed the ones above, but they still have places to hide below. Why? Don't they fight? Do they specialize in digging holes? Order, continue to attack. Tell the soldiers to avoid the enemy's straight line of attack. I don't care if I jump or crawl forward. Li Gong knew that he wouldn't be able to get an answer. So he gave another order. Since they knew how the enemy was attacking, they should hide. If they hid, they wouldn't be afraid of being hit. Report, our vanguard is attacking. We found that the enemy target has been shot several times, but hasn't fallen. He's scared and doesn't dare to move forward. The messenger didn't take long before he reported to Li Gong again. I'm convinced. Anything can happen, right? Order the attacking members of our regiment to continue forward. If they stop, shoot them on the spot. Li Gong didn't ask why this time. It was useless to ask. Report, when our army reached the enemy's third line of defense, the enemy counterattacked. Our army shot and hit 5 times. The enemy only has 1 person down. They're already entangled and engaged in hand-to-hand combat. The messenger reported. Before Li Gong could react, another messenger ran in. Report, the enemy used their own bodies and ours to block in front of them and counterattacked. Our army has suffered heavy losses. I know. Okay, when the time comes, I must see who the enemy's commander is. They don't even let the dead go. They're really unscrupulous. Send a message to the brigade. I request the artillery battalion to continue attacking. Don't care about our casualties. All of our soldiers are to fight on the spot. No one is allowed to retreat. The artillery battalion's cannons sounded again. The battle continued. They fought until dawn. A day and a half had passed on the sand table. In a while it would be 2 days. The vanguard of the great Tang army took down the 535 high ground. In fact, it wasn't that high anymore. It was blown up by the cannons. Commander Yang Chang looked at the results, but didn't look happy at all. A total of more than 1,700 people had died. After taking down the high ground, he found that the enemy was only a battalion, a logistics battalion. His artillery battalion had run out of ammunition. General, please. Yang Chang looked at Shi Chun, who was escorted over, and said, Shi Chun hadn't died yet. In theory, he had killed 3 people at the last moment. The enemy was aiming to capture him alive, so they didn't kill him. Hearing the strong emotions in the other's words, Shi Chun Weiwei smiled. If you have something to say it quickly. When the battalion was broken, I took poison. I don't have much time to live. Your military doctor's equipment is not good. Now, ask me something useful. I'll answer you selectively. How long have you been studying? Are you in the inner court of the Zhang family and Wang family? Yang Chang asked. You flatter me. The inner court can't be in charge of the logistics battalion. The main force is 100,000 people. The commander is in the inner court. I'm the one who applied to join the inner court. I think after this martial arts examination ends, with my battle results, I can enter. Thank you. Shi Chun was still smiling. Chapter 1005. Hearing Shi Chun's words, the faces of the generals around him darkened. Yang Chang exhaled slowly. Where does your battalion belong to? Where are they? How many are there? Is the main force nearby? I belong to the left vanguard of our main force. They are to the west of us. They have a legion of 30,000 people. The main force you're talking about is Cuckoo's Central Army, right? She's not here. She's in the Yellow Mountain area. Shi Chun's eyes were full of sincerity as he answered without hesitation. Why did you come here? Why did your logistics battalion move forward? Yang Chang asked again. I'm an independent logistics battalion. As the saying goes, before the troops and horses move, the provisions move first. Okay, let's stop here. Theoretically speaking, it's time for me to take the poison. I'm the last one to die. I'm going to the central sand table. After Shi Chun finished speaking, he walked away, leaving behind a group of generals staring at each other. He said he's an independent logistics battalion and belongs to the left vanguard. Their vanguard has 30,000 people. If we continue to move forward, we'll meet them soon. What should we do? Li Ji, whose entire 2nd Regiment had been destroyed, said worriedly. He meant that they only had 1 brigade, and it was already so difficult to defeat a logistics battalion. How could they fight against the enemy's main force? Why did you believe what he said? Logistics battalion? Do you think his battalion looks like a logistics battalion? The logistics camp had brought bows and arrows, broadswords, and shovels to dig holes to come here first? Where are the provisions? Yang Chang didn't believe him at all. But the logistics battalion of Izhou had already rushed to the front. Kong Lu, whose troops had also been destroyed, said softly, "This is not Izhou, and the soldiers are not the elites of the few forces. We don't have advanced weapons either. Send this news to the vanguard. Tell them to rest here and wait for the vanguard's orders." Yang Chang was in a bad mood. He had thought that they had encountered a powerful general and had a lot of defenders. However, after a fight, the artillery battalion had used up all their cannonballs. I've suffered a huge loss. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have attacked. It turned out that using cannons to bombard a mountain was not very useful in a situation where the enemy had trenches and underground shelters. Guns would not work if they were too close to the enemy. Pistols were still passable, but using a long spear with a reload of bullets would not show any advantage. Even if they were equipped with a bayonet, they would not be able to fight against the enemy's broadswords and spears. At this time, Yang Chang was dejected as he pondered. He concluded that even if he lost, he still had to provide useful information for his troops. At the very least, he had to send back information about the trenches. Shi Chun didn't care what the other party thought. His mission was complete. As he walked towards the center of the sand table, he recalled the battle that had just ended, thinking about what he could have done better. When he entered the center of the sand table, he was greeted by Li Longji's applause. Come, Lil Shi, come and sit down. You fought well. With a battalion of soldiers, you defended the high ground and calculated every step of the way. You fought until the enemy had 1,700 soldiers and exhausted their ammunition. Tell me, how did you fight? During this period of time, Li Longji did not sleep much. He always closed his eyes for a while, then got up and continued to watch the sand table. When the battle was over, he would wait for Shi Chun to come and look at the sand table. Shi Chun did not dare to be presumptuous. He clearly knew that the emperor had been watching the sand table and should know how to fight, but he still sat on half of the stool and said, "The enemy thought that their weapons were more advanced, so they underestimated the enemy. They should not have sent troops to attack bit by bit and played with the tactic of adding fuel to the enemy. Instead, they should have covered the sand table with artillery and directly launched a general attack from all directions. This way, their losses would have been smaller than mine. Moreover, at the beginning, the artillery should not have stopped after a single push. Instead, it should have formed a hindrance for our command and support, so that our troops at the front could not retreat, and our troops at the back could not rush up. Also, we clearly knew that they were fighting with cold weapons, so we should have prepared in advance. Also, when their troops rushed up, there was no command at the back. I reckon that they will learn to be smarter next time." Good, well said. They thought too simply of you. It's Cuckoo's fault. Usually, when she teaches them, she doesn't mention trenches. Instead, it's more about the theory of battle, and not much about the actual situation. Li Longji did not care whether what Shi Chun said was true or not, but since the other party had won, it was worthy of praise. Thus, he pushed the blame to Wang Wan. They haven't learned for long and haven't come into contact with the real battle. Young lady, you first talk about the theory, and when they've learned enough, you will have us fight on the sand table. At the same time, you will point out the analysis and judgment of the various situations. Shi Chun spoke up for Wang Wan. In truth, Wang Wan had mentioned trenches and various bunkers, but she did not mention that after the trenches were blown up, they should immediately carry out civil engineering work. Wang Wan felt that the great Tang's army would not encounter too much trouble if they bullied others, so she did not emphasize that the artillery plows would be used once, and they would have to see the situation and judge if they needed to fight again. If they really fought, there were still troops in the air to help, responsible for reconnaissance and throwing down explosives. If they were too detailed, it would easily limit the creativity of the generals, making them lose their own uniqueness. The commander of the vanguard, Zhang Shogui, also received the report. This time, the report was very detailed. After reading the report, Zhang Shogui pondered for a moment before saying, "Send an order to the 1st Brigade. Tell them not to slack off and be prepared to face the enemy's attack at any time. No matter how thick the fog is, the scouts have to explore the entire area as quickly as possible. I don't want to hear another report of them being careless and causing more losses to our army." Soon, Yang Chang received the order from the vanguard. After reading it, he was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat. He slapped his thigh and said, "That's right. That sure Chun intentionally let us capture him, so that we can keep thinking about whether there is a left vanguard with 30,000 men, so that we can judge whether he is really from a logistics camp. In truth, he can be from a logistics camp, but he can also not be an independent camp. We only want to take down 535 Highland, but the surrounding area is all mountains. Men, pass on my order." Reporting. Yang Chang reacted and shouted at the messenger. Without waiting for him to give the order, the messenger reported first. "Our Highland 535 Highland has suffered a fierce counterattack from an enemy camp. They are charging at us from the other side of the relatively steep mountain. Our army only has one group resting on the highland. Continue to attack. Continue to attack. Aim and fire. Don't be afraid. Their weapons are not good enough. Kong Lu, Li Gui, take the rest of your troops and go up from this side to reinforce 535 Highland. Our 3rd Regiment, Zhang Fan, take your 3rd Regiment and surround them from behind. Don't let a single one escape." After giving the order, Yang Chang sneered. "This time, you are the ones attacking the stronghold. Let's see how you will charge up. Do you think you can bring a trench with you? A camp, I'll eat it. Order the scouts to continue expanding the search area. The enemy is not a camp, but a regiment. Find their regiment headquarters. I want revenge." Yang Chang's judgment was very fast this time. He guessed that the enemy could not have too many people. Otherwise, they would not have just watched as a camp was eaten. They were planning to exhaust the enemy's troops and at the same time use a camp to exhaust their own artillery. Reporting. There is thick smoke to the west of our army's provisions unit. It is being blown by the wind and is spreading. The provisions unit is requesting support. The messenger ran over to report again. Yang Chang slapped his forehead. He felt a headache coming on. He had made a mistake. When they encountered the enemy, they did not set up camp first. Instead, they relied on their superior weapons to directly attack the enemy. In the end, the enemy used a camp to delay them while the rest of the troops were looking for opportunities. "Send my guards over. No, I will personally lead them. Think of a way to wet their clothes and block the smoke. Shoot at the smoke. Don't care if there are people inside." Yang Chang was worried that if he sent his guards away, the enemy would rush out and attack his main tent. He could only follow. This way, the referees would not judge that he was unable to defend and would be captured alive. The messenger took the model and moved it slowly on the sand table. Yang Chang watched. When they moved to a place with smoke, he would get more specific information. At this time, another messenger ran in. Reporting. When our provisions unit was firing at the west side of the smoke, the enemy probably had a camp of soldiers with wet cloth wrapped around their heads. They rushed up from the ground. When our troops turned around to attack, the enemy did not retreat. I think they have already started a hand-to-hand battle. Wang Wan, Zhang Xiaobao, I hate you all. You must have given special treatment to your own troops. Otherwise, how could they be so strong? Yang Chang roared, cursing with all his might. Only now did he understand why the enemy had sent a battalion to counterattack the 535 Highland with no regard for their lives. They wanted to draw away his strength, And even if they had to sacrifice another battalion, they would still be able to take down his army provisions. Looks like the enemy is really a logistics unit. Otherwise, the counterattacking camp would have been wiped out. Similarly, this camp would not be able to return alive. It was not easy to gain the advantage in numbers, but it was all lost again. A brigade deputy general next to him said to Yang Chang. Yang Chang nodded. Indeed. When one's own personal guards are sent out, their firepower will be much higher. Coupled with the troops guarding the provisions, they will be able to take down the attacking camp. As for the other camp attacking the 535 Highland, they will not have a good time either. Daring to fight like this and willing to fight like this, the enemy is definitely not their main force. They want to take down my brigade. But I am puzzled. Why do they cooperate so well? Because they are together almost every day. After many years, who likes to command and how to command, they already know each other. The deputy general guessed. Fight, fight, I also threw caution to the wind. Did they think that my brigade would be finished if they burned the provisions? Yang Chang said unconvinced. The battle continued. This time, Yang Chang's weapon was at a disadvantage. It played its role, and the referee gave him a lot of slant in his judgment. However, the 535 Highland was determined to be taken back by the enemy. This was because the soldiers guarding the Highland were very tired. Although they killed many enemies, the enemy rushed up and cut them down. Furthermore, the survivors jumped into the trenches again and waited for the enemy to rush up from all directions. Then, they jumped out and fought hand to hand. While Yang Chang was commanding his men to attack the camp that had ambushed the provisions troops, he didn't forget to pass down orders to the other troops. Don't rush up and fight with the bayonets. Throw all your throwing weapons into the trenches. I'll let them hide. The battle continued for another day. The camp that Yang Chang was in charge of sniping retreated with less than 200 people, leaving behind more than 500 corpses. The troops on the Highland were completely annihilated. Yang Chang only paid the price of less than 300 people. 300 people killed more than 1,200 people. But Yang Chang was not happy at all. The total loss of both sides was about 2,000 against 2,000. However, his side had run out of ammunition, thrown away most of the throwing weapons, burned the provisions, and killed most of the transport animals. This is too unfair. How did the ammunition I carry get blown up? Do they know how to use hand grenades? Yang Chang was the most upset about this. It was impossible for everyone to carry ammunition at all times, especially hand grenades. However, after 6 hours of fighting, it was determined that his ammunition had been completely destroyed and he had exploded. The messenger hesitated for a moment and finally said, I know what happened. They didn't use the hand grenades to make a sound. They used hammers to smash them. When one of them made a sound, the others all went off. The natives only knew that our weapons were powerful, so they wanted to destroy them. The referee's judgment was reasonable. What's reasonable? I don't believe that the enemy's commander doesn't know what the hand grenades are. Why didn't he let people smash the bullets? I want to see what are the chances of causing an explosion if the bullets make a sound. Yang Chang snorted angrily and said, We've smashed it. The enemy's commander said to smash everything, including our backup guns, the messenger said. Yang Chang was so angry that he laughed. Fine, you guys are ruthless. You clearly know what the hand grenades are, but you still went one round and blew up my ammunition. Even the referees couldn't say anything. Admirable, truly admirable. Everyone fell silent because this was very normal. If they said that they pulled the grenades or snatched the grenades and used them, that would be strange. They were natives, after all, and they were natives who were very good at fighting. They were natives who could fight on par with them and not be at a disadvantage at all. This was an eye-opener. They had never heard of such a thing before. Yang Chang looked at the sand table again. Don't let a single one of them go. Find the enemy's headquarters and capture them alive. I want to see who it is this time. Do I know them? Reporting. We found 3 pillars of smoke rising from Highland 7222 ahead, followed by 2 more. A messenger came in and reported to Yang Chang. Orders, gather the troops and charge down. I don't believe that they still have a battalion guarding up there. We'll retreat after the battle. It's too dangerous here. Yang Chang did a quick calculation and gave the order. Reporting, we found 4 pillars of smoke about 5 kilometers southeast of our army. Reporting, we found 3 pillars of smoke about 5 kilometers west of our army. Reporting, about 15 li or 18 li to the east of our army. There is a very thick pillar of smoke. Reporting, 2 pillars of smoke rose from Highland 7222 again. Before Yang Chang's troops finished gathering, 4 messengers came in one after another and reported to him. Yang Chang was shocked and said in a panic, "Quick, quick, gather. Gather as fast as you can. Don't rest. I know what's going on." The smoke from Highland 5355 at the beginning was a message to the surroundings. "We've been fighting for 3 days, and they've already surrounded us. Run, no, we can't run. Find me a mountain. The rest of our army will go up and defend. No, don't go up. Find a place with water and order the troops not to fire and waste bullets." Yang Chang found a scout and finally found a place that was not too far away and could temporarily not fight with the enemy. There was a water source here. There was a small pool that kept the water flowing out of the spring. However, it was in a depression and there were mountains on both sides. Orders, 500 people on both sides of the mountain and guard it. As for the rest, 1,000 people will set up a temporary camp. As for the other 1,000 people, those who are injured will recuperate first. Those who are not injured will be responsible for guarding. Yang Chang finally gave an order that he thought was smart. He did not rush up the mountain to defend. Li Longji, who was at the center of the sand table, nodded. Not bad. He knows to find a place with water. If he really rushed up the mountain, I'll remove him from his position right now. Empress Wang laughed softly. He must know how Ma Su died. Fuyang is full of small mountains. What's the use of him guarding them? Yang Chang still didn't know that his decision had allowed him to avoid a calamity. Standing in front of the sand table, he was constantly wiping his cold sweat. Although he knew that everything was fake, he still couldn't help but feel nervous. It was mainly because of the constant reports from the messengers that made him feel like he was in command on a real battlefield. Send a message to the vanguard. Our army has lost all of its provisions and gunpowder. We are surrounded in the mountains of Fuyang. We don't know how many soldiers the enemy has, nor do we know which division they belong to. Our army can only hold on for 5 days. After 5 days, if there are no reinforcements, our army will break out of the encirclement. If we fail to break out, the vanguard's 1st Brigade will fight to the last man. Brigade Commander Yang Chang will die for the country. Yang Chang's tone was resolute. He understood that even if he was in a real battlefield, if he couldn't break out of the encirclement, or if there were too few people who could break out of the encirclement, he wouldn't have the face to live. After receiving the report, Zhang Shogui frowned. He carefully looked at the sand table and compared it to the map. After standing for a while, he ordered, "Send a reply. The 1st Brigade will rest for half a day and break out immediately. Head north and enter the forest fire area. It has already rained. If we rush in, we might have a chance of survival. If we wait for reinforcements, we will definitely die." Zhang Shogui's order was passed down, but Yang Chang didn't receive it. This was because the scout in charge of hiding and helping to receive and transmit information had been killed. He had been killed by Wang Yi's sniper battalion that had been sacrificed to delay the enemy's advance. He had just led his battalion out of the encirclement in the rain when the messenger told him that they had discovered a few enemies. Since the people on both sides couldn't reveal any information and could only fight to the death, he didn't have anyone interrogate them and directly kill them. Once these people died, the communication between the north and the south was naturally cut off. Wang Yi actually knew what the enemy was doing. It was just a small team of a few people. Other than being a radio station messenger on the battlefield, What else could they do? However, his messenger didn't tell him that they had discovered the radio station. This was a decision made by the referees. Once they said it, he would immediately know what it was. If they brought it to him, he would probably use it. That wouldn't do. Thus, they didn't mention what they had discovered. Wang Yi sat down and looked at the sand table. He lowered his head and thought for a while. Suddenly, he laughed. Haha, let's see what you guys are going to do now. Chapter 1006. No one can accurately predict the outcome of a battle, no matter how great his advantage is or how good his plan is. Wang Yi looked at the sand table and recalled what Wang Wan had said and what Zhang Xiaobao had added. Yes, because we can never calculate everything. Some things are due to environmental factors, while others are due to human factors. Therefore, what we need to do is to think hard and persevere. Even if it's just one soldier, he has the chance to change the fate of the entire battlefield. Therefore, when you're on the battlefield, never give up, even if you're fighting alone. Yes, I can. I'm not fighting alone. I have brothers. Call the team leader of the first team here. Wang Yi waved his fist and ordered the messenger. Soon, 13 people entered the room. They represented the 13 team leaders of the sniper battalion. None of them had died, but their organization was not full. Some soldiers had died. Come here. Just now, we killed a few enemies. A few. I think they're the mobile radio team responsible for the transmission of information. Why are they here? Wang Yi pointed at the sand table and asked the 13 people. Only 2 of the 13 people had the surname Zhang and Wang. Like Wang Yi, they belonged to the inner courtyard of the Zhang and Wang families. They were all quite young. They looked to be in their early 20s. There was a number 4 on the chest area of their clothes, which meant that they were students of the 4th batch of the family military school. Wang Yi's number was 2. I think that they're here, which is the place where the fire didn't burn, because their vanguard divided into 2 groups. One group went to Wukong, and the other group went to Fuyang. They needed to communicate with each other in between. At the same time, they were also responsible for the transmission of information to the troops that came from Hangzhou. A young man with a baby face was the first to speak. Wang Yi nodded approvingly and asked the young man, Xiaodong, how do you think the vanguard will divide into 2 groups? Where will the main force go? Where will the feint attack and control troops go? Why? The young man, who was called Xiaodong, had a serious expression on his face. He furrowed his brows and put his hands together, circling his thumbs around each other. After a long while he replied, logically speaking, the main force should have taken the Fuyang route. Although there are hills in Fuyang and the road is not easy to walk on, it is much easier than the Wukong route. If they took the Wukong route, they would have passed through the Qianmu Mountain. If they continued to head west, besides Mount Huangshan, there was also Mount Jiahua. The main force will have more supplies and cannons, so it won't be suitable for them to travel too many mountain paths. However, the enemy's vanguard is Zhang Shogui, and his style is to take the enemy by surprise and scheme for his own success. Thus, I believe that the enemy's main force must be on the northern front, while the detour to the south is their main force. Is there anyone who disagrees? Wang Yi asked the other 12 people. The 12 of them shook their heads in unison, and one of them stood out. Even if we guessed wrong, we still have to guess according to this. We don't have much time to hesitate. General Wang, please make a decision. If you want to stand, then stand. If you don't, then be crippled. Wang Yi nodded and said, okay, according to the judgment of the referee group, there are still 541 people in my camp. Each of you will lead 30 people and leave this place. Each of you will fight for yourself. I want you to try your best to find the enemy's radio team and destroy them. None of the 13 people said anything, agreeing with this idea. As for the remaining 151 people, they would naturally be led by Wang Yi. Since there are no objections, when we depart later, you can discuss among yourselves who will follow behind the enemy's main force, who will follow another route, or move in another direction. I want to lead people straight into Hangzhou Harbor. I want you to stay calm no matter what difficulties you encounter. You can't rush into the enemy's gun muzzle when you find yourself surrounded. If there is a way out, take your people and run. Try your best to stay alive. Wang Yi lectured. Because he was a second-year student in the family, his status was higher than the others. The 13 people listened carefully. Xiao Dong stood out again. General Wang, I understand. We are the elites of the family. We will never do anything stupid. We have already completed the mission of delaying the enemy, and we have also forced the enemy to divide their forces. We must think that if we kill one, we will break even. If we kill two, we will make a profit. They are not elites. We have the ability to fight independently. Cuckoo and Xiaobao are in the same camp. They have arranged 14 inner courtyard commanders, including you. They definitely don't want us to die so easily. What we need to do is to fight a classic battle and let everyone know that the inner courtyard of the Sanshui Zhang family and Wang family has their own abilities to be proud. Okay, dismissed. Fight for the dignity and glory of the main family. Wang Yi saluted. Fight for the dignity and glory of the main family. The 13 people returned the salute in unison. Fight for the main family. A messenger also shouted. You are? Wang Yi turned his head and asked. The messenger lifted his outer clothes, revealing the pattern on the chest of his inner clothes. It was a small rice seedling with 2 circles around it. I am from the outer courtyard, 2nd class. I will soon become 1st class. I believe that I will definitely be able to enter the inner courtyard, although I know it will be difficult. The messenger raised his head and puffed out his chest, speaking with a firm tone. I believe you can. Let's work hard together. Fight. Wang Yi encouraged. The 13 of them dispersed. Immediately, another messenger from this room came to the center of the sand table and reported to the referee group that one of the messengers was actually with them. He even repeated the words of Wang Yi and the others without missing a single detail. Li Longji hadn't had a good rest in the past few days. His work and rest schedule were irregular. When he heard the messenger report, he waved his hand and said, I know. You did well. Your Majesty, do you want to change people? Empress Wang asked after the messenger ran back. What people? Many of the messengers are from Xiaobao's family. For example, the messengers in Xiaobao and Cuckoo's room can't be found from other rooms. Otherwise, if I go over, I will be really worried about whether or not someone wants to harm me. But did you see which messenger gave the 2 of them additional information? They still care about their reputation. What if they are caught cheating? Those outstanding commanders are loyal to the main family. That's good. How can people who don't love their families be patriotic? If it weren't for the fact that I'm afraid of the generals objecting, I would have reformulated the rules so that the commanders of the Zhang family and the Wang family can also use guns and radios when they get their hands on them. After all, they know how to use them, and they are very proficient in them. Li Longji expressed his thoughts, which meant that he didn't care at all. He showed absolute trust and generosity. Wu Huifei, who was beside him, opened her mouth but didn't say a word. Empress Wang saw her action and asked, Sister, what do you want to say? I'm afraid that if my words are heard by others, they will misunderstand that I want to frame Xiaobao and Cuckoo. It's better not to say it, Wu Huifei said very softly. It's okay. Sister, just say it. Xiaobao and Cuckoo are no longer afraid of being framed. Empress Wang insisted. Li Longji was also very curious and looked at Wu Huifei. Seeing this, Wu Huifei could only nod. Then I will say it. I remember that Lord Zhang said that because there were no soldiers in the capital, he used a method of recruiting soldiers. Then he used the weak to fight against the strong. That was when Xiaobao and Cuckoo were partly in favor of it, but there were also some who strongly opposed the recruitment of soldiers. Now, it seems that it was right. The soldiers will listen to whoever takes out the money to raise the soldiers. Therefore, the Tang Empire now has a compulsory military system. When the soldiers are given benefits, it is not because of their labor, but because of the extra rewards given to the soldiers. In this case, the generals can't directly take out money to give the soldiers and let the soldiers know that they are only fighting for the Tang Empire, right? Hearing Wu Huifei's words, Li Longji understood. What Wu Huifei meant was that since Xiao Bao and Cuckoo knew about this, why didn't they mention the guards raised by the noble families? Should they follow this idea and make the guards of the noble families in the Tang Empire the compulsory military system? Empress Wang was relatively stupid, but she understood after thinking for a while. She said, "That won't do. Sister Huifei, you should know the power of the noble families in the Tang Empire. If His Majesty really wants to do something to them, he may force them to fight a civil war. Will your family support him?" Empress Wang's last sentence was to ask Wu Huifei if her family could guarantee that they would support His Majesty when he took action. If Wu Huifei said yes, she would start with her family. If she said no, what was her intention? Wu Huifei wasn't afraid. She continued, "My family probably can't support it. What I want to say is that many families don't have the same number of guards as the soldiers on their books. They should be investigated thoroughly. Start with my family. If there are any extra guards, they should be fired. I'm not afraid that the noble families and noble families in the Tang Empire have private soldiers. No matter how powerful they are, can they beat Xiao Bao's protection team? Now that it is so convenient to send messages, they can't rebel even if they want to. Unless it was Xiao Bao and Wan Wan who rebelled, no matter where it was. As soon as there was a sign, it would be extinguished by the two of them. I believe that it would be easy for them to take care of a family. But as we all know, if they had this idea, they would have succeeded long ago. Therefore, what I want to say is that if there are more guards, there will be fewer farmers and workers. It's not good for the development of the Tang Empire." This time, Li Longji and Empress Wang nodded together. Li Longji said, "It's true. Even if the guards are paid and can go out to buy things, when they do nothing at home, it's a waste. It's a waste that belongs to their family. If they go out to do something, it will be helpful to the investment and output of the Tang Empire." Empress Wang said, "Yes, in the past, when the noble families raised soldiers, they would send them to fight when there was a war. But now, the Tang Empire doesn't need to do that. Their guards have no other purpose except to serve as ceremonial guards. It's not like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's guards. The people who want them dead are the rulers of the countries around the Tang Empire. Many people know that as long as the two of them die, the Tang Empire will be in chaos. Because the Tang Empire is developing too fast, so fast that the officials in the court can't understand it, let alone control it. Only Xiao Bao can handle it with ease. Everything is under the control of him and Cuckoo. In that case, I'll go and ask them." Li Longji felt that the problem was not easy to solve. He got up and walked to Wang Wan's room, followed by a group of people. In Wang Wan's command center, Zhang Xiaobao was busy arranging the expansion of the family's business according to the sand table and map. Wang Wan curled up and slept on the bed. She was sleepy. When Li Longji and the others came in, Zhang Xiaobao was still talking to himself. "My family should give up the farming industry in the various regions and give the locals a chance. The logistics of water transportation can't take up too much of a proportion. The best combination is the industry that provides technical guidance and consumes the local resources. In the case of precision processing, we don't need to use the Chongping position. The price of our precision processing industry fluctuates to achieve the goal of suppressing prices and balancing the profits of the people who provide the raw materials. Then, the problem comes. Should I reduce the trade links and reduce the cost, or should I allow the trade industry to flourish, thus increasing the cost and giving some of the trade groups more profits? If I were to reduce costs and reduce the number of links, would there be a situation where the traders would lose their jobs? If I allowed them to exist, would they continue to raise the price with the resource consumers after they gained control of the resources in the resource lands? Would they continue to exploit the local resource producers, thus obtaining more profits in the middle? This matter is troublesome. I can't relax it, nor can I tighten it. Do I have to use the country's protection mechanism? Can't economic matters be economic matters? The hearts of the people in the world. When Li Longji and the others came in, they happened to hear Zhang Xiaobao's words. Li Longji was immediately touched. Xiaobao was such a good person. Look at Xiaobao. Look at how difficult it was for him to develop his family's business. Not only did he have to consider how much money he could earn, but he also had to consider how much space he could leave for others to earn money. He even had to consider who was being squeezed when others were earning money. Zhu Zan was also moved, because he felt that Zhang Xiaobao didn't kill them all back then. He always left a chance for them to live. Otherwise, who knew what kind of impact Tufan would face? Princess Jincheng whispered, just as the hexagram shows, even if you seal the 7 gates, only one gate will survive. Unless you don't know how to retreat and walk into a dead end, the heavens will be clear, and killing will not be satisfying. When Zhang Xiaobao heard Princess Jincheng's movements, he turned his head and looked back. He smiled and said, "Do you all have nothing to do? If there's nothing, I'll look for you. Unless I'm hungry and want you to make something to eat, I'll ask you a question, and you answer it properly." When Li Longji came, he was afraid that he would disturb the two of them arranging the battle. However, one of them was sleeping, and the other was thinking about his family's business. It wasn't that they had nothing to do, so he was relieved. Zhang Xiaobao was very dissatisfied and said, "Be quiet, Cuckoo is asleep. If you have something to say it in the corner. Someone, arrange a place for us." Everyone's footsteps woke Wang Wan up. She rubbed her eyes and said, "Foster mother is here. Have you eaten dinner? Oh, His Majesty and concubine Hui are here too. Princess, you all are here too." Empress Wang loved Wang Wan the most. She quickly walked over and covered her with a quilt. "Cuckoo, go to sleep. It's long past dinner time. It's already 4 o'clock in the evening. You haven't eaten, right? What do you want to eat? Mother will get someone to make it for you. It's 10 o'clock? I'm not sleeping. Xiaobao, you're not sleeping yet? Did something happen at home again? Let's put it aside first. We'll talk about it after we win this battle. There's no hurry. Foster mother, don't worry about me. I'm going to sleep. I'll just get up and arrange the defense of Mount Huangshan. I'll take a bath and eat something later." Wang Wan turned over and sat up. It was obvious that she was not in the right state. She greeted everyone and went out to take a bath. Zhang Xiaobao also went out. They could take a bath together. Li Longji was very depressed. He muttered, "What am I doing here? Waking them up to take a bath? It seems that I'm really idle. I'm meddling in more and more things." After a while, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came back. Zhang Xiaobao was holding dry tofu rolls with spring onions and bean rolls with chili sauce. He was eating happily. Wang Wan was holding a big jiamo with minced meat in one hand and a bowl of clear soup in the other. Empress Wang pulled Wang Wan to sit beside her. She watched her adopted daughter eat little by little. She felt more comfortable than eating herself, even though she had her own son and daughter. Li Longji was not so polite. He watched Zhang Xiaobao eat the last bit of bean rolls and asked, "Is it delicious?" "It's okay. It's not delicious, but it's not bad either. It has its own flavor after being cooked and fried. It doesn't lose its original color even if it's coarse. When you're hungry, you can eat chaff. When you're full, you can eat honey, but it's not sweet. I used to be afraid of starvation. It has nothing to do with money." Zhang Xiaobao took another sip of tea and said, "I don't understand. I have money. I ordered a table of dishes. I spent money. I'm willing to throw them away. Why do you care?" Li Longji was very energetic. Zhang Xiaobao put down the teacup. "I don't care. You can throw them away if you want, but don't talk business with me. Otherwise, I'll be very willing to refuse and attack your business. You're wasting survival resources. If you buy 100 crystal cups and throw them on the ground, few people will say anything about it. If you order a table of dishes and you know you can't finish them, You'd rather throw them away. Naturally, there will be hungry people who will rebel. Do you expect people who don't have food to reason with you? There are different kinds of wastage. The people who really waste food are poor, at least in terms of cultivation realm. The really rich people demand quality of food, not quantity. If you order a table of shark's fins, all kinds of shark's fins, and release them to attract flies, that's because you have the ability. If you order 20,000 pounds of steamed buns and throw them to the ground, the people who rebel because of hunger will want to kill you first. Your Majesty, you came here to talk to me about the problem of food? Then I'll have to tell you why I'm eating dried tofu. It's because this thing has a lot of protein in it. After I eat it. Xiaobao, I know. What you said is very reasonable. I will never buy 20,000 pounds of steamed buns and throw them to the ground. What I want to ask you is how to get the guards of the various families and rich people to form a labor force in production. Li Longji was really afraid that Xiaobao would talk to him about food. He knew that the food of the Zhang family and the Wang family was indeed good, but most of it was eaten. They didn't take out millions of strings of cash to buy food and throw it to the ground. Money wasn't used that way. In Xiaobao's words, it was a lack of responsibility to society and wasting food. It was an inferiority complex that poor people showed when they were moving towards the stage of becoming rich. Xiaobao said that if you have money, you can buy jade and throw it for fun. Like his sister, you can throw big pearls on the marble floor. They look good when they bounce, and roast duck with agarwood. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said, Your Majesty, you don't want to talk about food anymore? My family just sent a few abalones. Cuckoo and I bought them when we were young. They've been there for many years. After they're done, they're worth 9 taels a head. They'll definitely weigh more than 1 pound. Li Longji swallowed a few times and glared fiercely at Zhang Xiaobao. Xiaobao, what I'm asking is how to solve the problem of the wasted labor force. Oh, I see. Okay, Your Majesty. To be honest, labor force isn't wasted, and social resources aren't wasted. This is a process of increasing resources and subsidies. You want to suppress this process and then generate more social taxes, right? That's easy. Zhang Xiaobao had already understood what was going on. Li Longji's question was so classic that even Wang Wan, who was eating a jiamo, had several ideas to deal with it. Chapter 1007. Li Longji perked up when he heard this. Actually, he knew that the quality of the guards had nothing to do with him. As long as he didn't overstep his boundaries, it wasn't like the guards were spending his money. However, since he had nothing to do, he might as well find something to do. No matter who the guards were, they were all laborers. If they stayed in other people's homes, they would be missing out on social activities. Take care of your own home. No matter where they are, the rich and powerful will send people to manage the city and countryside. In short, they will be the city enforcement officers. Zhang Xiaobao raised a finger and said. Li Longji thought about it carefully and said, What's the difference between them and the bailiffs? If they really do the work of the bailiffs, the rich and powerful will be willing to send them. It's an opportunity to participate in the work of the bailiffs. It's a symbol of status and identity. How can they be bailiffs? They will gather together and be assigned to different areas. When they see uneven roads, they will help to fix them. When they see muddy rivers, they will clear them. Zhang Xiaobao counted with his fingers. Also, if anyone's fence is falling, they will help to fix it. When they see children and elders falling, they will help them up. Of course, if they see bailiffs arresting people on the streets, they will also stop them. Although it's a small matter, someone has to do it. For example, if it's raining heavily and the rivers are rising, or if there are puddles in the fields, they will organize themselves and help. This way, the imperial court won't have to fork out extra money. Li Longji was very happy when he heard this. He realized that if he followed Xiaobao's instructions, the atmosphere would be better. The roads would be easier to travel, the transportation would be more convenient, and the flow of goods would be faster. There would be less mud, and the rivers wouldn't be blocked easily. The risk of the dam collapsing would be reduced. If he helped those who were busy with work and didn't have time to fix their houses and fences, it would be safer and would save them a lot of effort. However, Xiaobao, have you been so busy organizing logistics that you've lost your mind? This is called doing chores, not managing them. The masters of the guards aren't stupid, so why should they work? Not to mention Xiaobao's reputation. Even if I issued an imperial edict, it would be useless. Do you believe me? Li Longji woke up from his dream of Debing and happily told Xiaobao that he had been angered. Zhang Xiaobao waited for Li Longji to finish before he explained, "Of course we can't work for free. We can give you some benefits. If you give me money, where can I not find people to work for me?" Xiaobao, I've realized that you're not as smart as Xiaobei. The older you get, the stupider you get. When you're busy with logistics, your brain isn't as good. Li Longji finally found an opportunity to attack Zhang Xiaobao, and he began to mock him. Zhang Xiaobao also laughed. He sympathized with Li Longji. Didn't he just lose a few times in the past? Was there a need to think about revenge all the time? Money? No. Who gives them money? Give them a chance. A chance to participate in the local government's plan every year. For example, the big families have a lot of cows. The cows need to eat grass. The government wants to use a lot of land to grow rice this year. In that case, the cost of the large families would naturally increase by a lot. When he was involved, he could bring up that if the cost of raising cattle increased, it would be detrimental to the local economic development and unity. This is because other than renting cows to the local people to farm, I still have cows to sell milk. If my costs increase, should I pass this cost to the people who rent the cows or put it on the sale of milk? Zhang Xiaobao suggested a new idea and even gave a simple example. Li Longji's eyes lit up. He felt that this idea made sense. After thinking for a while, he slapped his thigh. All right, I think this idea is feasible. The large families pay high taxes, and we should give them some preferential policies. But will they be able to control the local government's annual plan? Li Longji also had his own worries. What if the local government started to give preferential policies to the large families because of this? Who would protect the interests of the ordinary people? There was already a problem. The large families and aristocratic families were very aggressive in acquiring land. Li Longji had previously allowed them to do so, but Xiaobao and Cuckoo strongly opposed it. Furthermore, when they were working together, they checked the amount of land each other had. If they had a lot of land, they would not be allowed to work together. This was why they were able to suppress them. This was because the money they earned from owning land was not as much as working with them. According to what Xiaobao said, wouldn't all their previous efforts be in vain? Zhang Xiaobao knew what Li Longji was afraid of, but he wasn't. He smiled and said, "Your Majesty, you don't need to worry. They can only participate in the local government's plans and give their own ideas. They can't help the local government make a decision. The local government will weigh the pros and cons. For example, if the large family with a lot of cows signs a contract with the local government, it means that the local government will give a big discount to the people who rent the cows as long as it doesn't affect their ability to raise cows, or if they don't increase their costs or even reduce their costs. You see, if I'm the county magistrate of a certain county, and I see that the yield of one kind of crop, such as wheat, is getting lower and lower, then I have to change the crop. If the conditions permit, I will change it to a paddy field and plant rice. If you sign a contract with the person who raises cows, I can move out a piece of land that doesn't have a good yield. I can ask the Sea Nong Temple for good grass seeds and plant them for you. Your cost will be reduced, and the lives of the people in my county will be better." Wang Wan ate the jiama and also agreed. Xiaobao is right. In the future, we should find more people like him to come to the capital and participate in the meetings. We can treat them as representatives of the people, although they don't directly represent the interests of the common people. Xiaobao is just a bait for the urban management team. The real purpose is that whoever wants to participate in the local government's plans and who wants to obtain more benefits must first pay the price. After the martial arts competition is over, Xiao Bao and I have already discussed and will propose a tax distribution system. The more money you earn, the more tax you have to pay. This money will be used for the welfare of the common people and public welfare. This is not harming them, but protecting them. Otherwise, if the gap between the rich and the poor is too big, the common people will rebel. Not to mention the money, they might not even be able to keep their lives. This proposal is very difficult. Your Majesty, you must support it. Li Longji listened and suddenly shivered. He felt that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's plan was very big. It turned out that the problem he raised was just a part of their plan that could be easily solved. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei also looked at each other. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo wanted to leverage the fundamental interests of a large number of people. The backlash could be imagined. Would the two of them be able to withstand it? Gao Lisher broke out in a cold sweat. He was very clear about how many ministers in history had ended up when they touched the interests of the noble class. His godson and daughter-in-law were challenging the entire class. Li Longji stared blankly at a certain spot. The entire room immediately fell silent. Only Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had indifferent expressions on their faces. This was because the two of them had long thought of a solution. The power of the nobles could never be eliminated. Even if there was a change of dynasty, it was just to get rid of a batch of nobles, keep a portion of them, and raise another batch. After a full 15 minutes, Li Longji finally returned to his previous state. He nodded slowly with a solemn expression and said, Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, I believe that what you're doing is for the betterment of Tang. After the martial arts competition is over, I'll give you the military authority of the Two Rivers Basin. You can transfer more troops from the Luzhou, Shuzhou, Tubo, and Bohai commanderies to the capital and Luoyang. Li Longji had made his decision. The Two Rivers Basin was naturally the Yellow River and the Yangtze River. He wanted to use Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's hands to make a move on Tang's current aristocratic families. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were stunned when they heard this. They looked at each other in surprise, but they were also touched. Li Longji's action was no different from giving up the country. What was the difference between giving up the military authority of the Two Rivers Basin and letting his private soldiers enter Chang and Anluoyang? Both of them stood up and bowed deeply to Li Longji. They said at the same time, "Thank you, Uncle Li." Li Longji sighed happily. It's not easy to get you to give me a sincere bow. Don't thank me. I should be the one thanking you. Keep the military authority for now. When things settle down and nobody dares to make a move on you, I'll take it back. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sat back down. Zhang Xiaobao returned to his usual playful self. Your Majesty, there's no need for you to hold the military authority. We didn't say that we'll make them pay a lot of taxes in one go. Naturally, they won't be willing to take things for free. We can exchange benefits and make them pay more taxes on their own accord. Oh, no need for you to hold the military authority? Can they take the initiative? Xiaobao, what are you going to use in exchange? It can't be the advanced technology of the Ministry of Works, right? If that's the case, I'd rather let you hold the military authority. If they hold the technology, can I still control them? If they take the technology and run outside to develop, how should I deal with them? Li Longji spoke the truth. He had always been afraid that he wouldn't be able to control the nobles, not the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan families. Over the years, he had already thought it through. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo weren't interested in the imperial authority. They just wanted to build up Great Tang. He didn't know why the two of them, or perhaps the two behind them, thought this way. They seemed to treat everything as a game. They wanted to have a good time, but they definitely weren't willing to be the judge. The reason why he wasn't worried about the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang clan was mainly because they had the technology and capability. Even if they wanted to become the emperor, they could just find a place overseas to develop. However, they chose to remain in Great Tang. As such, they were the most reassuring power. If it were any other clan, they would have long rebelled. Your Majesty, don't worry. Right now, I won't let others have the technology. I'll only be at ease if it's in my hands. Exchanging technology is indeed the best method, even if it's advanced civilian technology. However, I won't give them this either. I'll give them the authority to use the technology in a period of rapid development. I'll use this to exchange for a voluntary increase in the tax rate. Those who aren't willing, I won't force them, but they can forget about getting a chance. Zhang Xiaobao said confidently. Wang Wan was also full of smiles. She knew that Zhang Xiaobao was up to no good again. Li Longji was puzzled. What nonsense was this? Xiaobao, be more specific. Give me an example that I can understand immediately. I want to see how many people will fall for it. Empress Wang and the others nodded. They loved to see Zhang Xiaobao use schemes. It was so satisfying. Chapter 1008. Zhang Xiaobao sat up straight and greeted everyone with a smile. Then he coughed softly. For example, Your Majesty, you are the head of a rich family. Your family does business, and there are people in your family who are officials in the imperial court. You are prominent in the local area. The tax you usually pay is 15% to 20%. I want to charge you 40% of the tax. Therefore, the imperial court issued an edict saying that the Tang Empire will raise the tax from 20% to 40%. Those who agree will go to the Ministry of Works to receive compensation after signing the contract. Will you go? No. Li Longji shook his head. If you compensate me with a bunch of light bulbs, I definitely won't be able to get back the tax money. Besides, the tax is long-term. The compensation must be one-time. I have to consider for my descendants. I'm not done yet. Your family's annual turnover is 1 million strings of coins. Based on the tax your family paid last year, if your family's turnover exceeds 1 million strings of coins, if you agree to pay 20% more tax, you'll get permanent distribution rights to the 4 train carriages of the Jingluo to Luoyang Railway and the Jingluo 002 train. Wait, Xiaobao, you're even giving out the distribution rights of the train carriages? There are only 4 trains in operation now. You're giving out 4 carriages of 1 train just for 200,000 strings of coins? Even if you're willing, I'm not. With 4 carriages of goods, you can earn more than 600 strings of coins a day, right? A carriage should be able to carry about 20 meals. 4 carriages is 80 tons. 200 strings of coins is no more than 200,000 copper coins. 1 ton of goods can't earn 5 copper coins? Without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to finish speaking, Li Longji became anxious. He was only calculating the price difference between the capital and Luoyang. What if he transported more valuable goods? Wang Wan hurriedly persuaded, Your Majesty, what Xiaobao means is the distribution of carriages. It doesn't mean that you don't have to pay the fare. That is to say, there are 4 carriages under your control every day. But whether you use them for yourself or others, you have to pay the fare. If they only transport grain and pay the fare, they won't be able to earn 200 strings of coins. Of course, it's impossible for them to transport grain, but the price difference between the 2 places is high. For wagons is just an example. In reality, it might be 2 wagons. Xiaobao, with a turnover of 1 million strings of coins, it's not much to give 2 wagons, right? Yes, it's not much. Because it's a short journey from the capital to Luoyang. It only takes 2 carriages to make a profit of 500 strings of coins a day. I believe that many people will be willing to pay more taxes. Zhang Xiaobao calculated in his mind. Li Longji still shook his head. That's still a lot. You said that it's permanent. If I ask for an extra 200,000 strings of coins, it'll still be 200,000 strings of coins a year. Besides, he arranged a carriage for others, so there are naturally other benefits. Zhang Xiaobao felt extremely helpless. Why was Li Longji's brain not working properly? He turned to look at his godfather and asked, Foster father, what do you think? Gao Lisher pondered for a moment and said, if the carriage is given away, that person's influence will increase, and the benefits it will bring to them will definitely far exceed 200,000 strings of coins. As long as they aren't stupid, they will be willing to take the carriage. There are times when one loses money in business. Presumably, no matter where the price of the goods is, the carriage will be able to generate profits. However, since it's Xiaobao's idea, I believe that you naturally won't let them off so easily. It's just that I haven't thought of a reason yet. Gao Lisher was very honest and approved of his godson's way of doing things. Doing business that lost money was not his godson style. Many thanks, foster father. Zhang Xiaobao thanked Gao Lisher with a smile. Of course, there was no sincerity in it, but Gao Lisher didn't care. He gestured for Zhang Xiaobao to continue. Your Majesty's thinking is very correct, but there is a prerequisite. That is, the carriage from the capital to Luoyang will only run 4 times a day. If I increase it to 40 times a day, running once every hour or so, giving you the management rights of 4 carriages, you will immediately feel a lot of pressure and the competition will be fierce. In the future, there will be even longer distance railways. Didn't we agree this year that I will be in charge of the money, and you will be in charge of the workers? We will build 30,000 kilometers, and I will use the management rights of these 30,000 kilometers of railway carriages to exchange for the majority of people who are willing to take the initiative to raise the tax rate. As for the minority who don't support it, what can they do when the time comes to enforce it? The later they support it, the fewer benefits they will receive when the time comes. We have to think of a way to spread this news as a rumor. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he gestured and told everyone what he had envisioned. Wang Wan laughed happily at the side and added, "Don't look at how it's powered by the steam engine now. After we increase the number of carriages, we will immediately share the profits of others. The faster the development of technology, the smaller the profits of investments that don't consider the technology in the short term. A year later, they will realize that the profits they take out every year are far less than the figures they once imagined. The extra money will become the tax of our great Tang. When the time comes, there will be more leeway to choose whether to use it for medical treatment or education. We can even subsidize the farmers. Yes, subsidize the farmers. It's not obvious now, but in the future, the land tax will gradually be abolished. This is the law of social development. But in the process of buying and selling food, there is a need to levy taxes. No one can resist this trend, and we can only seek more balance in the rise and fall of the trend. Yes, Zhang Xiaobao continued, in this world, the internal stability of a country will always be based on the proportion of tax and land. With land, the problem of survival will be solved. With tax, the problem of welfare will be solved. As for the carriages, they are all fake. If you have them today, you might lose them tomorrow. If you give away the management rights of all the carriages, I will one day let the Ministry of Works catch up with the development. I will change all the steam engines to diesel engines, and the number of carriages will naturally disappear. Li Longji was frightened by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's words. He felt a chill down his spine. He felt that Xiaobao and Cuckoo were good people. If they were talking about land, they usually did not occupy it. The Zhang family and the Wang family in Sanshui County, Zhuangzi, were still as big after so many years. The land in Tubo that was closest to the pass was also nominally given to the imperial court. They went to Qinghai Lake to occupy it again. There was also the northern part of Hebei province that was nominally also under the imperial court. They had to pay more rent every year. There was also Luzhou. Although the Zhang family and the Wang family were the absolute rulers there, they still did not claim a piece of land for themselves. They only occupied it outside and would return it to the Tang Empire when the Tang Empire's forces passed. They knew the importance of land. Hence, they did not touch it. Wu Huifei felt the same way as well. She said, "Xiaobao Cuckoo, don't worry. I won't tell anyone about what you said today." Zhang Xiaobao nodded with a smile. "It's fine even if you tell them. They still have to raise their tax rates voluntarily. I have compensations and backup measures. I'm only asking those who earn more to pay more tax. I'm not going to kill them all. As for the land, I'll slowly take it back from them. I can give them other things in exchange. Land is related to the stability of the country. I won't compromise. I'll force them to make a decision willingly. Wang Wan chimed in, "My family is the first to be willing to raise the tax rate. Money is only a burden to a certain extent, not a blessing. Moreover, my family doesn't have to pay 40% tax. It's 60% tax. 60%? What kind of compensation do you want?" Li Longji was stunned by Zhang Xiaobao's words. He was shocked by Wang Wan's words. 60% tax? Would there still be profits? Perhaps the restaurant between the clouds and the water could, but wouldn't the other businesses suffer losses? If they ran out of money, their intelligence network wouldn't be able to support them. If the Zhang clan and Wang clan lost their intelligence network, it wouldn't be a good thing for Great Tang. Thinking of this, Li Longji waved his hands. "No, 60% is too much. You have your own matters to attend to. You aren't pure merchants, so you have to ensure that you have sufficient guards. Every year, your family takes out a lot of money to do things in the name of the royal court. We can't bully your family anymore." Zhu Zan and Princess Jincheng glanced at one another. The two of them tacitly thought of the same thing. Great Tang had to ensure that the interests of the Zhang clan and Wang clan were guaranteed. Under normal circumstances, the two clans were a power that every ruler feared. However, in Great Tang, not only could they not suppress them, they had to support them. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's talents had already determined their positions in Great Tang. Wang Wan's smile remained unchanged. "Your Majesty, there's no need to worry. This is a matter of 300% of the cost and 500% of the profit. So what if we have to pay 60% tax? If an item that costs 10 copper coins is sold for 40 copper coins, we have to pay a 60% tax of 24 copper coins. I still have a net income of 16 copper coins, and a portion of this 16 copper coins will be used to subsidize other industries. The profits will still be there. What kind of toy can earn so much? Your family's luxury goods?" Li Longji thought of glass. Cement used to be a luxury item, but it wasn't now. He just didn't hand over the formula for cement, and he didn't allow others to buy and sell it. However, the price of cement had become very low. "Your Majesty, you have forgotten. You promised us that you would let us establish the Great Tang heavy industry. We control the entire industrial system of Great Tang, and the profits will naturally come from the industrial side. Technological products are the most profitable, and luxury goods are just small toys. In the future, I will compensate those who are willing to pay a high tax rate for technological products. I will allow them to earn money, but I won't allow them to touch anything that involves the foundation of Great Tang. This is because money is something that can be lost at a crucial moment in the country." Zhang Xiaobao brought up the words he said on the ship to Jili province. Li Longji suddenly understood. So that's what he was waiting for. Right, it was agreed that the Great Tang heavy industry would be handed over to Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Only by letting them manage it would he be at ease. There were too many crucial technologies in it. Gao Lisher interjected. "Xiaobao, in other words, when you make deals with others, you will suppress them every time. When they don't have enough profits, you will compensate them in another way." Yes, it's easy to ruin the business of one family, but I don't dare to ruin the business of all the major families in the Great Tang. But in the early stages, as technology develops and people become smarter, their competitors will gradually increase. Every time I make a change, I will compensate them so that they have a chance to increase their competitive advantage. However, when there are too many choices, there will be a large number of people who will not be able to manage their businesses well. The faster society develops, the harder it will be for them to make a choice. Only a small number of people can stand in the noble class. The rest will be buried in the tide. Perhaps it won't take long. 10 years? 20 years? Today, the families that we use to exchange tax rates will drop by 90% or even more. This is because the development and application of various technologies in Great Tang is too fast. This is a development speed that Cuckoo and I expect and push forward. However, to me and Cuckoo, not only do we not find it abnormal, we find it slow. Zhang Xiaobao said another result, which was that those who agreed to pay more taxes would gradually be squeezed out in the process of technological development. So what if they were a millionaire? A person with a net worth of several billion yuan could collapse overnight. There were many cases of giant enterprises collapsing in an instant. Even countries could go bankrupt. What else could not happen? Li Longji and the others finally witnessed the ruthlessness of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They seemed to be willing to sacrifice many things for the stability of Great Tang, including the people abroad and the rich in the country. They would kill anyone who stood in their way. Zhu Zan had a deep impression of this. He had personally experienced it. The civil and the martial were working together to achieve the same goal. Just like the snow on a snowy mountain, under the calm surface, there was a power that could turn the world upside down. Revealing even the slightest loophole and giving others a chance would result in an avalanche. This was how Tubo collapsed. They had sent people to cause trouble once, but they suddenly got in the way of Xiaobao and Cuckoo leading the development of Great Tang. Thus, the two of them were forcefully removed, regardless of how many people died in the process. Zuzhenchide no longer felt resentment. What he felt was more helplessness. Tubo did not have Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Tubo did not send people to kill them in advance. No, they had already sent people to scout Sanshui County to find people and things worth killing. In the end, they sank by the small river beside Zhuangzi, where the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family lived. That river, that small bridge, and those two Zhuangzi seemed to be filled with mysteries ever since they were born. Other than Xiaobao and Cuckoo's relatives, the people in the inner court were the ones who understood the situation the most. They could not get any information from them. The only one who could be considered an outsider was Song Jinggong. It was said that he used to be a swindler and was very good at swindling people. He had never failed in his swindling for many years. In the end, when he went to someone else's manor, he failed miserably and even lost his capital. Later on, when people asked him why, he kept his secret. Every time he got drunk, he would only sigh and not say anything. He was the number one on the list, but he never challenged Zhang Xiaobao, much less left the Zhang Xiaobao and the Wang family. Why was he so afraid? As he thought about it, Zuzhenchide suddenly thought of something and asked, Xiaobao, you said that you feel that your development is too slow? Does that mean that you are not worried about encountering any problems, such as developing too quickly and exceeding your control? Li Longji was also thinking about it. When he heard Zuzhenchide's words, he reacted, That's right. Xiaobao and Cuckoo, you don't seem to be afraid at all. What are we afraid of? Where are we going now? It's just that after a period of time, the use of industrial investment in the people's livelihood will cause a portion of the handicraft workers to lose their jobs. It's not a big deal to find a new job for them, right, Cuckoo? Zhang Xiaobao said indifferently. Wang Wan replied, Yes. In theory, it's impossible for people to lose their jobs. The so-called unemployment is not working because they can't find a job with the same income as they want. The contradiction is that how much money you want to earn, what kind of job you can do, and what kind of job you want to do. The faster the development, the more opportunities there are for employment. Careers are always relative. If a country has too many people with careers, it can only mean that there are problems with the country's economic structure and industrial technology. It's definitely the responsibility of the ruler. He or she did not manage to balance the country's income, so he or she has to support the people with careers. What if they don't support them? Li Longji felt very uncomfortable with the responsibility being pushed to him, so he asked in a loud voice. Zhang Xiaobao followed up and said in a loud voice, Then they are not loyal to the emperor and are not patriotic. As long as they are given a chance, they are willing to betray the country for more income. Li Longji was at a loss for words. As the emperor, he still cared about the loyalty of the people. He didn't want to need a lot of guards when he went to a construction site like Beijing one day. He didn't want to treat the people who were supposed to protect him with their lives as enemies just because he felt guilty. He felt that, as the emperor, it was too sad to live like that. If that was the case, he wouldn't be as good as Xiao Bei and the others. At least wherever Xiao Bei and the others went, they would be loved and respected by the people as soon as they revealed their identity. Xiao Bao, you keep saying that there are problems. Do you have any ideas to solve the problem of career? Li Longji asked Zhang Xiaobao angrily after being frightened. What was the use of always finding problems? The main thing was to find a solution. I do. Zhang Xiaobao became serious. Actually, Your Majesty has already done a good job, so there's no need to worry. I'll solve the problem of career. It's not a big problem anyway. I'll use the money you gave me from the bank to set up a long-term training class. Whoever has a career, I'll give them living expenses first before teaching them survival skills. If those who have a career aren't willing to do manual labor, I'll teach them simple mechanical operations. Once they learn how to do it, they'll naturally be needed by other industries. I can teach them simple accounting, and they'll be able to find similar jobs. I can even teach them how to edit words. In the future, Great Tang's industries won't be based on production, but entertainment and services. After they learn how to edit words, they can find a small newspaper office to work for. Of course, you'll be the one paying for it. If they can't learn it in the first period, they can continue to learn it in the second period. If they can't learn it all the time, they won't be able to withstand the gazes of others. Our Great Tang is a country with dignity and backbone. The same goes for the people. They have their own pride, and if they can't learn it, how can you be so shameless as to refuse to pay for their living expenses? Wang Wan added, Xiaobao is right. There are many jobs in society that don't require too much skill. I don't require everyone to know how to calculate calculus, probability, and psychology. Ordinary jobs don't require that. What a normal industry actually needs is a skilled worker, especially for private businesses. In that case, the country can help to nurture the workers' proficiency. The country has to pay for this. Right now, it's the money that Your Majesty left with Xiaobao to support it. It won't be used for the time being, but Xiaobao already has a plan. As long as they have a career, Xiaobao will fork out your money. So, you don't have to worry. Xiaobao and I are more than capable of handling such matters. Then, what if I'm not willing to fork out this money? Perhaps Li Longji felt that he was too afraid and embarrassed, so he asked, You're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.